I thank her and get out before I cost her any more of the afternoon. That is another problem closed, and most of the week's grief goes out with it. Once the furnace and the medicine are in hand, the alchemist's legacy can properly begin. So I run the refining process for both pills through my head again and again, trying to buy down the failures before I have burned a single ingredient. The worry is whether my hands can keep pace with my head, because easy to grasp and impossible to perform is a real thing. Spirit plant farmer and alchemist together is a strong pairing, and plenty of talented loose cultivators have built whole careers on it, with no small number of sect cultivators choosing it too. Spirit plant farmers are the foundation every sect stands on. Medicinal pills are a necessity nobody cultivates without. The two trades overlap so heavily in spirit medicine that each makes the other cheaper to learn. My choice was the obvious one. The only reason Wang Songsu did not tell me no. The honey peach trees I transplanted come into bloom. Pale pink flowers all through the valley, and a scent that pulls in spirit bees from everywhere. Under the catalysis technique, a tree that should have needed 5 years to flower and fruit has done it in 2. Once the peaches ripen, that is another solid income, since a honey peach will push an early-stage chi refinement clansman through a bottleneck, and the family counts them as a serious resource. I take the chance to break through to the second layer of chi refinement while the air is sweet. Even a 5 spiritual roots cultivator cannot sit at the first layer forever, and the face I show the world has to climb a little now and then. Wang Zhongyo and the other elders congratulate me and the valley goes quiet again. Outside the valley, nothing is quiet. The Shinong sect and the other 3 great Golden Core sects announce they are opening the resource exchange points early. Any loose cultivator or family cultivator can bring in demon beast hunting points and trade those points for whatever they need. The list covers every part of a cultivator's life and includes the rare things, foundation establishment pills and longevity pills among them, in strictly limited quantities on a first-come first-served basis. Opportunists immediately try to cash in demon beasts they hunted years ago. Every one of them is caught and thrown out, and several who argue about it are killed where they stand. After a few hotheads test the line, everyone understands where the line is. Teams form within days and pour toward the Cheongpeng mountain range, all chasing points before the tide arrives. The Wang family is not about to be left behind, so on top of the first demon beast hunting team already building defenses, Wang Songsu organizes a second batch and sends them out. The mountain goes quieter still. What I keep thinking about is the longevity pill, because I would give a great deal to swallow one and find out whether the far end of my ledger moves for it. All I can do is watch, since my combat experience is exactly nothing and I could not take a cultivator of my own stage, never mind a demon beast. My only road to a longevity pill is contributing enough that the family buys one for me. I am settling back into lying low when Wang Songsu arrives with the pill furnace and the spirit medicine. The furnace is second-hand and priced at 80 spirit stones. The medicine is cheap, enough for 100 batches of grain abstinence pills, and 80 batches of healing powder, 50 spirit stones for the lot. She says that is plenty for a beginner to burn through. Then she hands me a set of alchemy insights that 7th Grandpa compiled himself and sends along free to support the younger generation. I take everything with both hands and ask her to thank him for me, and she adds that he holds several grade 1 pill formulas and will trade them for contributions if I want them. I nod at that seriously. The family owns almost no pill formulas, and most of the ones it does own are in Wang Zhonggong's hands, so a relative willing to trade beats hunting blind in the outside world. First though, I have 2 pills to learn. Healing powder is not much use, since early-stage chi refinement clansmen are wrapped in protection and rarely take a real wound, and mostly it is loose cultivators who buy it because it is cheap. Grain abstinence pills are a different animal entirely. They are the simplest thing an alchemist makes, and they sell forever. A chi refinement stage cultivator in seclusion, on the road, or out treasure hunting has no time to cook, so he swallows a grain abstinence pill instead, while foundation establishment great cultivators have learned to go without food and never touch them. The profit per pill is thin, and the volume is enormous. The main ingredient is spirit rice, so the cost is almost nothing, and the family cannot get enough of them. That is exactly why I start with the healing powder, since the powder is cheaper to waste, and once my hands know what they are doing, I will move to the pills that pay. I set up the furnace, light the fire, and work down the pages of Introduction to Alchemy a step at a time. Nobody comes near the valley to interrupt me, which is worth more than the furnace is. Batch after batch fails, and none of it discourages me, and in a little over 10 days, I go from fumbling to competent. The first successful healing powder comes out of the furnace and sits in front of me folded in oil paper. It is a portion the size of my thumb, worth 1 spirit sand, enough for a minor wound. There will be a second and a third, so I steady my breathing and keep going. The success rate climbs, and in a bit over 20 days, the whole supply of medicine is gone. I lost time working out the principles for myself, And without 7th Grandpa's insights pointing me at the right questions, it would have taken far longer than 20 days. Close to 6 out of 10 batches of healing powder come out right now, which for a beginner is heaven-defying. So I break out the grain abstinence pill medicine and start again. 20 days of furnace time have burned the nerves out of me. The process comes easily, and the first batch finishes fast. Waste pill. Failed, but a long way better than my first attempt at healing powder. The second batch is another waste pill, though this one at least smells like a medicinal pill. Third, fourth, and by the 7th, the furnace gives me a real grain abstinence pill the size of my little fingertip, indistinguishable from a proper one in shape and color and scent. I swallow it and the fullness arrives at once, and it holds a day the way a normal one does. A batch runs about 10 pills. Spirit rice and the rest of the medicine costs around 15 spirit sands. The profit is 3 to 5 spirit sands. The refining takes 7 or 8 minutes, which means an hour of clean work nets, 20 to 35 spirit sands. Better than a spirit stone. Once the technique goes proficient, a failed batch will be almost impossible. I put the rest of the pills away well pleased. What comes next is raising my success rate and getting new pill formulas, so I will trade with 7th Grandpa for the formulas and give every spare hour to grain abstinence pills. Healing powder I drop without a second thought, since it did the only job I wanted from it. Pill formulas are not cheap. It turns out alchemists are scarce not only because alchemy is hard, but because the formulas themselves barely circulate. 7th Grandpa will trade with me, and I have neither the contributions nor the spirit stones to trade with, so I go and earn them. I draw another batch of grain abstinence pill medicine from the family, on advance and settle into a laborer's life. That means spirit plants in the field and the valley by day, spell practice squeezed in around them, and the furnace running in my immortal cave at night. Somewhere in all that I noticed something strange, which is that 4 Joys eats waste pills. I had been piling the failures up for disposal, and he had been quietly clearing the pile. Worried about pill toxin stunting his growth, I check him over several times and find him in perfect condition. That leaves me asking whether his stomach is made of iron, because every cultivator alive knows a waste pill is not food. The answer is in the scripture pavilion, in the beast-taming shelves. The stubhorn yellow ox is an absurdly adaptable demon beast, whose 4 stomachs will process nearly anything, and many poisons that kill human race cultivators are a delicacy to it. I go back and apologize to him for the years of nothing but grass, since the books say his kind eats widely and will take meat if it gets hungry enough. He is easy to keep, which is exactly why the Jew family settled on the stubhorn yellow ox as their working spirit beast, an animal that hauls and is not fussy. So from now on, every waste pill is his, which delights me because my disposal problem just solved itself. Then it is back to the valley where the list of things needing doing never gets shorter. March comes around again. The end-of-year celebration was never held. Most of the family still has not come home, and the mountain is desolate. Wang Song-su has pulled the Wang family's mortals and martial artists into patrols to hold the perimeter, since there is nobody else to hold it. My mother Jo Min went off with a group of clansmen to join the others at the Chongpeng mountain range, and almost everyone left behind is a spirit plant farmer who cannot leave his post. March is supposed to be when the children with spiritual roots come up to join the family, and this year there are none again. Riding 4 Joys through all that emptiness with both my parents at the front, I am about as alone as I have ever been. So I open my panel, because there is nobody left to talk to and the ledger never goes anywhere. 8 months have put me at 309 years. The Gomak Bongchun Sutra now wants 10 years for every single percent at minor achievement, which prices it out of reach. So I go down the list of spells instead, spending like a man clearing a shelf. 10 years finishes the Spirit Rain technique to perfection, and 10 more finishes the Golden Gyeong sword art, while 45 between them carries the Yongseo palm technique. The Falling Leaf footwork to perfection as well. 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones costs 30 years to major achievement, and 60 more to perfection, 90 in a single swallow. And I pay it. 54 years pushes first grade alchemist to 30% of proficient, and 30 more pushes first grade spirit plant farmer into minor achievement at 1%. When the dust settles, the panel reads out a Wang Nam Nam who is 15 years old with 60 years of life still under him. He is still standing at the 7th layer of chi refinement, since I bought no realm this time. The Gomak Bongchun Sutra holds its first layer at 2% of minor achievement, and nothing more. Everything else is finished. The Turtle Breath Concealment Art, the Soul Skill, the Spirit Rain Technique, the Golden Gyeong Sword Art, the Yongseo Palm Technique, the Vajra Buddha Body Technique, the Falling Leaf Footwork. The first layer of 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones, every one of them at perfection. First grade Spirit Plant Farmer sits at 1% of minor achievement, and first grade Alchemist at 30% of proficient. My realm did not move, and my actual strength moved enormously. because every spell I own is now perfect, and my head is packed with cultivation experience I never had to earn. The only thing missing is real fighting, and even so, I am confident I could handle a cultivator at the 8th layer of chi refinement. Minor achievement in the spirit plant farmer legacy has opened up a much wider understanding of spirit plants, which means I want more ground to put them in. And with the alchemist legacy proficient, a batch of grain abstinence pills is now a certainty rather than a hope. I go quietly to Wang Songsu again. Months of refining and selling grain abstinence pills to the family have built me 200 spirit stones, while everything the spirit field earned went straight back against my advances. I ask her flat out whether the Chungkyong grass field can be expanded, because I have learned that this cousin has no patience for a runway. She is sipping spirit tea in a rare idle hour and asks whether I honestly have time for more field, since she knows well that a 15-year-old with my schedule is already overloaded. I tell her I only eat what my bowl holds and will not overreach. And then I mention that 10 acres feels a bit small. 10 acres. Small. She starts to tell me an ordinary spirit plant farmer needs 5 years before he can run 10 acres alone. Then she stops in the middle of the sentence as something occurs to her, and asks instead how much more I want. My face gives me away completely, because I had braced for a flat refusal. Another 10, I tell her. 20 in total, and that is enough. She agrees, with the warning that it will take a few days, since the family's formation master is away and will have to be called back. My proficiency with the catalysis technique is not something they intend to let any outsider see, least of all the 2 Shinong sect cultivators on the mountain, so the new field gets its own formation. She asks whether there is anything else. There is. I want to exchange for a pill formula from 7th Grandpa, and I have 200 spirit stones in hand, and will take an advance if the price runs over, because this cannot wait. She has watched me sell grain abstinence pills to the family all season, and does not question whether my alchemy is real. What she tells me is that 7th Grandpa is at the market near the Shinong sect, that she is far too busy to go, that every adult cultivator in the family has his own work, that if I want a pill formula, I will be fetching it myself. I go quiet for a moment. The farthest I have ever traveled is Jiangsan County at the foot of the mountain. The market by the Shinong sect is a different order of distance, though it does not sound like a problem. I put on a helpless face anyway and remind her that I am only at the 2nd layer of chi refinement. She says, without looking up, that I am carrying the 18-star glazed gourd and asks what I imagine I have to be afraid of. My hand goes to the beast taming bag on its own, and I feel a great deal better. She tells me to find the Wang family store when I arrive, and that I may as well treat the trip as a small trial run. A magical artifact shaped like a boat carries me out, the one my cousin lent me, and she promised it would reach the Shinong Gate market inside half a day without ever losing its way. I sit up front while Four Joy sprawls in the back watching the forest tear past underneath, and for the first time in my life nothing is fenced. The trip passes without incident. A few cultivators look us over from a distance and go about their business. I sit down at the market entrance, put the spirit boat away, and ride Four Joy straight in. The place is big enough to feel like a small town. Buildings down both sides of the road and vendors filling every gap, laid out much the way a mortal market is laid out. The difference is the loose cultivators, who live here by the 100, make their living off the traffic, and farm spirit plants on the outskirts. With the Shinong sect standing behind it, the safety here is on another level, which explains why it is the biggest market in the district, and why the streets never empty. I follow the main road until I find the Wang family shop, and then I am not thinking about the market, because standing in front of it are Wang Namyan and Wang Namgyang. My missing companions, alive and employed. They are as startled as I am and want to know whether I came out here alone, since this is nowhere near the family and I am an early-stage chi refinement cultivator. I grin and tell them my cousin Wang Song-Su handed me a life-saving measure. Then I ask why they left the family to work a shop counter when the family supports us until we are 18, and where everybody else went. They trade a look. An elder came to them, said the market shops were short-handed, and asked whether they were willing to help. Working for the family pays spirit stones and contributions and carries no danger, so they got their parents' permission and came. Wang Namyan has been under 7th Grandpa brewing spirit wine, while Wang Namgyong handles the customers. As for the rest of our friends, they have no idea, no word in a long time, though judging by their own arrangement they assume the others got something similar. Then Wang Namyan asks what brings me here, and I lie to her, saying the clan chief sent me to settle something with 7th Grandpa. It is not that I distrust the two of them. It is that there are many ears on the street, and a child who can perform alchemy is exactly the sort of thing they would repeat. I tell them it is urgent and ask to be taken through. They pull me into the shop, past a few clansmen working the floor, and up to a door. Before my knuckles reach the wood, Wang Zhonggong tells me to come in. I go in alone, shut the door, and greet 7th Grandpa as a junior should. He says Sangsu has already explained the matter, that a self-taught alchemist appearing in this family is a rare thing, and that as an elder he is going to support one. I tell him the insights he sent have already helped me more than he knows, and that I would not presume to ask for more. I mean it, because an alchemist's insights are decades of practice and worth no less than an ordinary pill formula. That pleases him. He says there are only the two of us in the whole family and there is no call for ceremony between us. Then he tells me he once asked the clan chief to let him teach me personally and was flatly refused. He sighs like a man who finally found a promising student and had the door shut on him. When he starts to say he could petition the clan chief again to bring me out to the market, I cut him off fast. If he keeps talking, I may never see the Wang family again. Moving to the market is a joke, because nowhere on this earth is as safe for me as the mountain I came from. So I tell him I am a spirit plant farmer first, that alchemy is a hobby and not a living, and that the spirit plant farmer legacy comes to me more readily anyway. He sighs at that for a long while. Then he gives it up and asks whether I am here for pill formulas, and I say I am. He has 3 that suit my level. The yellow sprout pill helps early-stage chi refinement cultivators cultivate. The mind-cleansing pill clears the head and strips out stray thoughts, meant for use in meditation. The sulfur pill temporarily erases a person's scent. Each formula is 100 spirit stones or 1,000 contributions. He tells me not to accuse him of robbing his own great-grandnephew, because outside this room triple that price would not buy any of the 3. These were not easy for him to get, and the number he is quoting exists only because we share a surname. My savings will cover 2. The yellow sprout pill is not optional since it feeds the exact market I am already selling into. Of the remaining pair, the sulfur pill is a niche thing nobody wants except at one specific moment. So I take the yellow sprout pill and the mind cleansing pill and hand over 200 spirit stones, every coin I have. He looks briefly surprised that a boy my age can produce that much on the spot, then stops wasting words and passes both formulas across. With them come his refining insights for each pill, to be read alongside the general insights he sent earlier, which he says will double the return on my effort. I thank him again, quietly delighted because the insights are the expensive part and he keeps giving them away. Outside I find Wang Namyan and Wang Namgyang again, and ask how far it is from here to the Shinong sect. Wang Namyan reads my mind before I finish the question, and asks whether I am hoping to see Namyo. Wang Namyo and I share a grandfather and grew up in the same dirt, and I have not laid eyes on her since the Sinong sect cultivator took her away 3 years ago. She is doing well, Wang Namyan tells me. She went into the Shinong sect's outer sect to cultivate. 7th Grandpa has helped her considerably. There are several other Wang family cultivators inside the sect, and she has already reached early stage chi refinement. She is in seclusion at the moment, so there is no chance of seeing her today. The market sits close enough to the Sinong sect that Wang family cultivators drift through constantly, which is how Wang Namyan hears everything worth hearing. How 7th Grandpa ends up carrying messages back to the mountain. The market is lively and I am penniless, which makes wandering it a form of self-harm. So I decide not to look at things I cannot buy and head for the road home instead. Wang Namgyang steps into my path to tell me 7th Grandpa has something more to discuss. I turn around without argument and ask whether there is something he did not tell me. He rubs his temples and says he is old and his memory is going. Then he asks whether I am not supposed to be a spirit plant farmer, and whether I can tell him what the spirit seed is. A seed as black as ink floats up in front of me, so lightless it looks unreal, though when I touch it, it is solid and faintly cold. He explains that a Foundation establishment elder of the Shinong sect had him refine medicinal pills for a junior, and this came back as part of the payment. I go through everything the legacy has given me and nothing matches, because there are more spirit seeds in this world than any one book could hold. So I ask whether he is not worried about losing money on something he cannot identify, since an alchemist is normally paid in spirit stones or spirit medicine. What he values, he says, is not the spirit stones but the goodwill of a Foundation establishment elder. That is the whole reason alchemists sit where they sit, because favors pile up around them until nobody can touch them. He adds that the elder mentioned the spirit plant was taken during the last 100-year beast tide. I ask whether nobody in the Shinong sect recognizes it either, and he shakes his head, since if anyone had, it would never have reached his hands. I still cannot name it, so I tell him the truth, that my knowledge is shallow, and the best I can do is carry it back to the family and put it in front of the elders there. He says he never expected a child to recognize it anyway, and tells me to take it, then hands me a set of talismans for the road. I do not refuse. I leave the Shinong Gate Market, board the spirit boat, and lift off. In a corner near the shop, several cultivators are talking with their heads together. A refined-looking man, plainly the one in charge, asks whether they are certain the second-layer chi refinement cultivator is Wang family. His subordinate says a cultivator that young who knows every face in the Wang family shop can be nothing else. He tells them the last time the Wang family bought a Foundation establishment pill, their clan chief killed many of his people on the road home. That he has waited years for revenge. That Wang family members are always too well guarded. And now the Wang family has handed him a second layer junior traveling alone. He orders them back to prepare torture instruments and says he will take the boy himself and work on him until the anger of the last few years is out of his chest. Then he sets off after the spirit boat. My boat already has its destination locked in. My cousin's way of making sure I cannot get lost, so I do not have to steer. It tears along low enough to scatter flocks of birds out of the trees, and I laugh most of the way. Behind me, the refined man picks up my trail. A Foundation establishment cultivator who ran for his life the day his subordinates were slaughtered, and has not been allowed to forget it since. Then a voice asks where the good Taoist is going all alone, and it stops him cold. Ahead of him hang an old man and a middle-aged man. He knows both faces, the old one being Wang family elder Wang Zhonggong, and the other being Shinong sect Foundation establishment elder Yu He. He steadies himself and starts mapping an escape, because the pressure rolling off Yu He is more than he can survive. Out loud he asks, all righteous indignation, whether wandering the wilderness is forbidden now, and when exactly the Shinong sect and the Wang family became so overbearing. Wang Zhonggong's eyes are amused. He says nobody is telling the good Taoist where he may travel, but the good Taoist has been following his junior and owes an explanation. Then he asks whether the man believed the Wang family would let a second layer Qi refinement cultivator ride out alone. He points out that 2 years of quietly investigating the Wang family did not go unnoticed either. The refined man cannot believe it because they were careful and they were seen anyway. Since the good Taoist has nothing to say, Wang Zhonggong asks Elder Yu He to trouble himself and see the man off. Yu He draws his flying sword, levels it, and says he is doing business for money and to give him a moment. The two of them close, and Wang Zhonggong withdraws to a safe distance. The refined man roars that he will pay 3 times the price if his life is spared, which is begging with better vocabulary. He is at the first layer of Foundation establishment, and Yu He is at the 5th, and there was never a contest. Yu He answers that killing him makes his belongings Yu He's anyway, and presses until the man drops, his head leaves his shoulders, and his core is destroyed. Wang Zhonggong thanks him and promises the agreed goods will arrive shortly, and Yu He waves it off with the same line as before. Back at the Shinong Gate Market, in a shop tucked into a corner, several Qi refinement cultivators lay out their instruments for a boy who is already halfway home. An old woman is standing behind them and none of them heard her arrive. She remarks that their equipment is impressively complete. One of them begins to say that of course it is, years of accumulation, and does not finish. Something has gone wrong with the room, and he is looking at the back of his own neck. Wang Myungju puts her magical artifact away and searches the place. The Wang family has spent years hunting the cultivators who went after that Foundation establishment pill and traced them here. And the Foundation establishment cultivator who ran that day belonged to this shop. The entire business of sending me out alone was built to bring the rest of them into the open. She observes that a cultivator who ends up robbed himself can call it fate, then steps into the street and vanishes. I have no idea I was ever bait. I get home and go down into the valley to show off my prize. I ask 3rd Grandma and 6th Grandpa what kind of spirit seed this is, explaining that 7th Grandpa refined pills for a Shinong sect elder and got it as a reward. The two of them turn it over and shake their heads. The vitality inside it is thin and past its peak, which does not look like a first-order spirit plant. Wang Zhongso guesses the Shinong sect handed it out precisely because they had decided it would never germinate. Wang Zhongyo agrees. An unknown spirit seed with none of the conditions for germination, and marks on the shell showing somebody already tried to force it. So she thinks 6th brother has it right, and adds that even a second-order spirit seed is worth little if it will not sprout. She tells me to keep it as a curiosity, or feed it to 4 joys. That the two of them do not know it either is disappointing, and that it cannot germinate is worse. So I put it away and take it back to my immortal cave and set it on a shelf. I cannot leave it alone though, because I have never held a spirit seed above 1st order, and I have not been allowed near the few 2nd order spirit medicines deep in the valley. So I pour spiritual chi into it until I have none left. Looking again, the vitality has risen a hair and no further. At that rate, it would take thousands of sessions to reach anything, which is not a thing a boy with 20 acres and 2 legacies can afford. The spirit plant farmers at the Sanong sect no doubt ran the same arithmetic. I set it down, meditate until my spiritual chi returns, and go to work. 4 joys gets up to follow me out. On the way past the shelf, his tongue curls around the spirit seed and takes it, on the reasoning that anything master tosses aside is not wanted. The next few days bury me and I forget the seed entirely. I start on yellow sprout pills and mind cleansing pills, drawing the spirit medicine from the clan. Wang Songsu has grown so used to my request that she brings it up herself before I ask. I thank her properly and then work fast, because thanking her slowly costs medicine. 2 more months and the supply is gone. Yellow sprout pills are coming out right close to 20% of the time, and mind cleansing pills close to 35, which is respectable. At those rates I am still losing money, but a few more batches will fix that. I wipe the sweat off my face full of confidence, because pills meant for the early stage of chi refinement are not difficult alchemy except to a beginner. I am not going to be a beginner much longer. I stopped there, partly because the medicine is finished, and partly because the Cheongpyeong grass is ready to cut. 20 acres is not a thing to be careless with. Once I settle the spirit stones, I advanced. I do the arithmetic, and discover I have, as near as makes no difference, nothing left. 20 acres of Cheongpyeong grass, a full 300 spirit stones, and alchemy swallowed all of it. Alchemists are unbelievably expensive. Still, it is the road I picked, so I will crawl down it on my knees, if that is what it takes. I bring the golden gyeong sword art down the rows and cut the whole crop, spread it out to dry, and leave it for my cousin to collect. After that, there's the corner of the spirit field I set aside for Four Joys, where the dung is piled like a small hill and long overdue for clearing. Drying that long has fermented it properly, and while it is no match for purchased spirit fertilizer, it is far from useless. I am spreading it across the field when an aura catches my attention. I follow it down to an ink-black spirit seed wrapped in the middle of a dung pile, which I would never have found without divine sense. I drag Four Joys over, point at it, and ask him to explain himself. What is more remarkable is that it did not digest. Four Joys is deeply wronged about the whole affair, since he thought it was refuse. Nobody warned him that 4 stomachs would fail against 1 seed, and the passage out took an unreasonably long time. He tries to explain this. I ignore every word of it and assign him enough work to fill the next 10 days. Then I lift the seed with my magic power, wash it clean with the spirit rain technique, and stop. The black shell has split open, showing pulp underneath, soft and springy like a preserved egg, with the vitality inside far stronger than it was. A blessing wearing an unpleasant disguise. I take it straight to 3rd Grandma and 6th Grandpa, who find it as impossible as I do, a spirit seed they had written off coming back to life. Wang Jungyo decides all 3 of us should stimulate it at once. We activate our cultivation together and pour vitality into it until it visibly swells, and the strength of the response sets all 3 of our hearts pounding. It works. Wang Zhongso says this does not look like a second-order spirit plant either, and that he could see none of it before, because the shell was hiding everything. Wang Zhongyo says the Wang family has stumbled onto a great treasure, that the clan chief is to be told and no one else, that with vitality like that even a fool could tell it is high grade. Then she says Four Joys has earned a merit, and someone should pick him spirit medicine as a reward. I come back to Earth abruptly, because Four Joys is currently serving a sentence of hard labor. So I pull him off the job and make peace with him, and the moment the spirit medicine is in front of him, he forgets every grievance. The 3 of us plant the seed in the deepest part of the valley where the spiritual chi is thickest. Wang Zhongyo tells me my stimulation works better than theirs, and asks me to come down often and feed it. I agree quickly and feel uneasy about it, because the first layer of the Gomak Bongchun Sutra is only powerful on first-order spirit plants. On anything higher, my effect is no better than any other spirit plant farmers. I keep that to myself, since I have a cheat, and pushing the first layer of the sutra to perfection will take a few years at the outside. Meanwhile, my responsibilities are outgrowing my hours, and I have started dropping things to get enough sleep. The Chongpeng mountain range. On top of the cultivators building defenses, loose cultivators have flooded in since the 3 great golden core sects opened the resource exchanges early, and the whole area is louder than a market. Demon beast hunting teams push into the range, one after another chasing resources. Plenty of them die, and it deters no one. A steady stream of loose cultivators passes through the ground the Wang family holds. Wang Zhongbi brings the resource list to the clan chief and reports that the first batch exchange from the Shinong sect has come back. She is a family elder and the strongest talisman cultivator the Wang family has, assigned to this work by the clan chief personally. Wang Myonggae does not look at the list and ask whether they got foundation establishment pills. 1 foundation establishment pill and 1 longevity pill, she says, along with common resources, all of it in the storage pouch. He takes the foundation establishment pill and gives the rest back, then tells her to keep accumulating demon beast hunting points with foundation establishment pills and longevity pills at the top of the list. The defenses are largely finished, so a portion of the team stays on guard while the rest reorganizes and goes into the range after demon beasts. The longevity pill goes to her by preference, and any clansman with enough contribution for the foundation establishment pill can come to him quietly. Wang Zhongbi's face lights up. She belongs to the Zhong generation. She is past 90, and decades of accumulated contribution have finally bought her a few more years of being alive, which is a thing worth being glad about. The foundation establishment pill she does not even consider, because her vitality is already draining out and a dozen pills would not break her through. It is better spent on someone who still has a chance. The clan chief's face is nothing like hers. The Cheongpung mountain range backs onto the 10,000 mountains, and there is no counting the demon beasts in there, which is the real horror of a 100-year beast tide. The hunting teams are bringing back information along with the corpses. What they report is that large numbers of demon beasts have already gathered ahead of schedule, and while demon beasts do fight among themselves, that is a cup dipped out of an ocean. He asks how the talisman drawing is going inside the family. Over 100,000 first-grade talismans, Wang Zhongbi answers, and no second-grade talismans beyond the 100 bought from the Shenong sect at ruinous cost, because the family has no second-grade talisman cultivators to draw them. She blames herself since she is the strongest talisman cultivator in the family, and has raised almost no successors. She cannot break through to Foundation Establishment herself, which is the only door to becoming a second-grade talisman cultivator. He asks about everything else. Chi refinement stage magical artifacts are in good supply. Foundation Establishment magical artifacts cannot be bought at any price. It is the same with medicinal pills. First grade fully stocked and second grade, at which point she cannot finish the sentence. He finishes it for her by asking whether the family's spirit stones and spirit sand are nearly gone as well. Only an emergency reserve remains, she admits, though there is enough spirit rice that no clansman will go hungry. He understands and does not press. The Wang family's position is every family's position, large in quantity and poor in quality, deep in the Chi refinement stage goods that circulate freely and starving for the Foundation Establishment goods that do not. It cannot be otherwise when Foundation Establishment cultivators are so few, and every family has to go through the 3 great golden core sects for anything worth having, and no quantity of Chi refinement stage equipment stops a Foundation Establishment demon beast. Late at night on Wang family ground, a shadow slips past the outermost mortal patrol and into the territory, moving carefully from building to building, hunting for something. With so few cultivators left on the mountain, the place stands open like an unlocked door, and the figure grows bolder as it goes. The 2 Shenong sect cultivators open their eyes, look in its direction, and go back to what they were doing, because they were sent to watch the Wang family, not to protect it. Wang Sengsu feels it from inside her immortal cave and runs it down near the scripture pavilion. She tells the intruder the Wang family does not welcome uninvited guests, and a black beetle half the size of a man comes out of the dark at him. He dodges the black armor king bug and sneers that a cultivator freshly broken through to Foundation Establishment can hardly do anything to him. She answers that freshly broken through is more than enough to put him down. She is one of only 2 visible Foundation Establishment cultivators this family has, and she is running it in the clan chief's absence. She waves a hand and the night starts humming as spirit bees pour in by the thousand and close a ring around him. The noise pulls the remaining clansmen out of their caves and she turns every one of them back before they arrive. Chi refinement stage clansmen in a fight between Foundation Establishment cultivators are not reinforcements but casualties. Down in the valley, the 18-star glazed gourd senses it too, shoots out of the beast taming bag and flies to her side, and her face brightens at the sight of it. She sweeps the area with her divine sense, finds no second enemy, and orders it in, and the gourd's bright colors drain away to an inky black that swallows it into the dark. The intruder is wrapped up by the black armor king bug, while the spirit bees come at him without pause and lose great numbers doing it. He says he underestimated the Wang family. She asks why he came and what he was looking for, and he stops talking altogether and fights harder, so she gives up on answers, activates her talismans and goes in herself. The gourd surfaces out of the darkness while his attention is elsewhere and drives its proboscis into him. The talismans land. The black armor king bug closes its jaws on his head and tears until he stops moving, and she destroys his core and lets out a breath. She does not know the face. Every Foundation Establishment great cultivator among the 3 great golden core sects, their affiliated families, and the loose cultivators carries at least some reputation. This man carries none, which leaves her asking whether he came from outside the district entirely, or whether he was hidden the way the Wang family hides its own. She collects the body regardless. Tomorrow, it goes up on the wall of Jiangshan County, where every cultivator in the district can read the message. Word that an unknown Foundation Establishment cultivator broke into the Wang family travels fast. We are an established Foundation Establishment family, and our name alone has kept this district polite for a long time. So an outsider walking in and having to be killed costs us something no matter how it ended. With most of the clan away, a few people saw an opening. Then the rest of the story spreads, that Wang Songzhu did it herself, and those same people put the thought down again. A woman holding 2 Foundation Establishment spirit insects and a swarm of Chi refinement stage spirit bees is not somebody to test. The 2 Shenong sect cultivators who spent months ignoring everyone call on her the next day and stay talking for hours. What surprises me is the woman herself, since my cousin is gentle to the point of mildness and has been carrying that the whole time. The excitement outside dies down and my attention gets pulled elsewhere. In a little over 10 days, the seed the 3 of us planted stands over 10 feet tall, branches still that lightless black. The shape of it now reads as a locust tree, round crown, dark green leaves. I name it the shade locust tree for want of a better name, since I still cannot place its grade. That does not stop me pouring everything I have into it, catalysis and spirit fertilizer over and over, which is most of the reason it is climbing this fast. It is beautifully cool underneath it. More than that, cultivating in its shade sharpens my divine sense noticeably, and the sharpening keeps going rather than leveling off. While I am sitting under it one afternoon, gray flowers open along the branches, wither almost immediately, and leave fruit hanging in their place. When I look closely, the fruit have the shape of little human figures, which is strange enough to stop me, but they feel like ordinary spirit fruit under my fingers, and I decide the shape is only a shape and wait for them to ripen so I can see what they do. Back at my immortal cave, the winged cloud grass is thriving under the personal supervision of an ox who never looks away from it. The honey peach tree is fruiting too, and the smell coming off it says the peaches are nearly there. A honey peach pushes an early-stage chi refinement cultivator through a bottleneck better than a yellow sprout pill does. Since it is a fruit with no toxicity and no side effects, people want it far more than they want the pill. I am openly delighted about this, standing there waiting to pick. The peaches come off sweet and the family takes the entire crop. My success rates on yellow sprout pills and mind cleansing pills keep climbing and I sell many of both. The Cheongpyeong grass all goes back out as spirit medicine for more yellow sprout pills, which Wang Song-soo delivers herself every single time, without once complaining about it. The year runs out. The shade locust tree ripens its fruits several times over, and every time, before I can get a hand to them, they drop and are gone. I cannot find any pattern at all in when it flowers or when it fruits. After one of those droppings, my divine sense catches a cold current coming off the trunk, and when I look properly, there is a space inside the wood. It is dark in there and damp, and standing in rows inside it are figures, except they are not figures. They are souls. That knocks the breath out of me, since I have never seen a soul in my life, and these ones have nothing behind the eyes, standing blank where they were put. Watching long enough tells me they come from the fruit. I told Wang Zhengyo and Wang Zhengso, and neither could see the space in the trunk, never mind anything standing in it, so I stopped mentioning it. By year's end, there are many more of them, and I have stopped paying attention. It is the end of the year and my parents send word that they are not coming home. Whatever is happening on the Shungpeng mountain range side must be serious, or the Wang family would not still be this empty. I wanted to go and find them, and Wang Song-soo shut that down flat, on the grounds that it is too dangerous and the family does not need its juniors at the front yet. With the 18-star glazed gourd riding on me, I could not sneak out if I tried. So I offer instead to buy talismans and medicinal pills and ask her to carry them to my parents. She takes the spirit stones and goes. And what she chose to buy I never ask, because a woman with her experience will have thought of 10 things I would not. The ledger reads 15 years old against 335, 9 months of the family surviving, having pushed my lifespan past 300 again. This time I buy nothing. The 2 legacies I have already handle everything in front of me. So the years just sit there accumulating while I wait to put the whole pile down at once on driving the Gomak Bongchon Sutra into major achievement. A full granary is worth more unopened. New Year. I am 16. Taller than 5.5 feet, and apparently good looking, which nobody in this valley is qualified to judge. Months of grinding have pushed my success rate on grain abstinence pills, yellow sprout pills, and mind cleansing pills, up until the worst of the 3 sits at 50%. I am still not satisfied. The rate has hit a bottleneck where more repetition buys almost nothing. So I changed the method instead of the effort, turned to 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones, and buy a second pill furnace. The first layer only lets a cultivation technique stack in quantity, but I want to know whether it will stack a legacy too. Both furnaces go up together, pill flame strong, prepared spirit medicine going in on its own schedule in each. 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones runs continuously, while the 2 halves of my divine sense mind 1 furnace each. It all goes smoothly. The first batch of healing powder, the simplest thing I know, comes out right away. My divine sense does split into 2 separate consciousnesses, faintly and vaguely, but it happens, and running 2 tasks at once proves the thing works. If this holds, my pill output goes up enormously and the spirit stones and contributions more than double. The cost is brutal though. For the handful of pills I have mastered, it is manageable, and anything complex later on may be beyond me. This only worked because I have divine sense, and because the first layer of 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones is at perfection, and a slightly weaker version of me fails that attempt outright. With the complete technique instead of 1 layer, several batches at once would be nothing. So I keep testing, because a new idea is worth exactly as much as the practice behind it. The spirit medicine consumption goes somewhere absurd. My cousin starts questioning her own life every time she hauls another load up to me. The spirit stones I spent all year accumulating drain away at speed. Early March finds me still trying to fold 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones into my alchemy when Wang Song-soo comes looking for me. She says outright that most of the family's cultivators are away, that it is time to test the Wang family's spiritual roots again, that she is nobody left, and that she is sending me. I am stunned. As far as any outsider is concerned, I am a second-layer chi refinement child, and although the Shinong Gate market trip went perfectly, a second trip is a second chance for something to go wrong. I start to say that March is the best planting window, and she talks straight over me. She knows what a spirit plant farmer can do, she says, since her spirit bees pollinate half of what we grow. Besides which, I am a spirit plant farmer and not a mortal farmer. I have the catalysis technique, and 10 days or half a month of delay in planting is not a real problem. Everyone in this family who can walk has been sent somewhere already, except for her and 2 Zhong generation elders. The workload is not heavy either, and if I move quickly, the whole circuit takes about 10 days. Then she hands me the list of mortal cities and routes, and tells me a few of the larger cities have cultivators stationed who will run the testing for me. She puts a spirit boat and a route map in my hands before I can refuse a second time. A cultivator needs nerve and should not be afraid of danger, she informs me. And with the 18-star glazed gourd on me, there is nothing to be afraid of anyway. Watching her walk off, I accept the job, because there was never a version of this where I did not. I call 4 Joys, tell him we are going early and coming back early, and take the spirit boat off Wang family ground. The family's affiliated cities are many and wildly uneven in size. The Wang family runs into the millions of people, and the number born with a spiritual root each year is tiny, which is the single biggest reason we cannot grow. First stop is Jokbong City, a place of over 500,000, of whom about 50,000 are Wang family. Over 300 children of the right age are waiting, which is half a day gone right there. Outsiders are not eligible to be tested. The Wang family in Jokbong City had word in advance, and has everything ready. The square is packed with mortals, and most of them are not here to be tested but to watch, because immortals do not come through often. The spirit boat comes down to actual cheering. Several elders converge on me the moment I step off and bow in unison, greeting the main family, and it makes my skin crawl. Between them, these men have several hundred years, and they are bending at the waist to a child. I let them do it anyway because different generations are not, I am a cultivator and they are not. I announce myself as a Nam-generation member of the Wang family. Come to Jokbong City by family order to test spiritual roots. Then I tell them to hurry, because I have several more cities to reach. They straighten up at once, produce a seat, and start organizing the children. I set the testing spirit stone on the table and point at the first child, telling him to put his hand on it. He is nervous. His parents push him gently from behind, and he touches it carefully. Nothing lights. The whole square breathes out in relief, which tells me plenty about how these families feel regarding losing a child to the mountain. I call the next one. They come through in an orderly line as though they had rehearsed it, and out of all of them, exactly one makes the testing spirit stone light up. It is a shame the stone only reports whether a spiritual root exists and never what type it is, since that takes the clan chief in person. That finally explains why outsiders never know their own spiritual roots. Family rules say the families of children with spiritual roots all relocate to Jiangshan County and collect their reward there, and once I have said so, I wave the crowd off. The Jokbong City branch tries to make me stay and I refuse, and I take the girl on to the next city. Riding a spirit boat for the first time terrifies her, and she spends the trip with both arms locked around 4 Joy's neck, in case the sky lets her go. I do not ask her name. Anyone who enters cultivation gets a new one anyway. By dusk, I reach a large city where the family keeps people stationed, which is exactly why I picked it to spend the night in, and I bow respectfully to second uncle. Wang Sangang is second ranked in his generation, and a 5th-layer chi refinement cultivator who never took up cultivation arts, having gone all in on the saber instead. That is why the family put him over Changpyeong City, the largest city we hold apart from Jiangshan County. He looks serious at the sight of a junior and asks why the family sent me. I tell him most of the family is at the Cheongpung mountain range, that only a portion of the spirit plant farmers were left, that even those have been sent out, and I point at the girl behind me as the only child in Jokbong City with a spiritual root. That softens him, and he brings us inside and offers to run tomorrow's testing himself, so I can go and see the city. I hand over the testing spirit stone. As for seeing the city, I intend to do it after dark when the night market is worth seeing, and with Wang Sun Gang here, I am not worried about anyone troubling me over Changpyeong grass. I change clothes and walk out into Changpyeong City alone. It is prosperous, the biggest place I have stood in outside Jiangshan County, over 1 million people, and it produces a kind of spectacle the cultivation world does not have. Pavilions, the night market, entertainment houses, traveling opera troupes, high culture and low culture pressed against each other in the same street. I end up in the opera garden watching a performance with nothing at all to do, which is rarer for me than any spirit seed. Without this errand, I would still be down in the valley working myself into the ground, and a little idleness may well do my cultivation good, since a string held taut forever eventually goes. It does not last. Somewhere in the middle of the singing, a commotion breaks out, and a group of servants pushes into the room, drawing every eye in the place. A guest near me mutters that the Wang family has come to collect taxes. That makes me frown. Changpyeong City belongs to the Wang family, and Wang family people administer it, so collecting taxes is ordinary enough, but collecting taxes at night is not a thing that happens anywhere. Another guest corrects the first, saying there is no tax involved, that the Wang family's young master took a fancy to the lead performer, that she turned him down, that he is back to make trouble about it. My senses are good enough that I catch all of it clearly. It is not often I walk into a mess this stupid. They have ruined the performance, and I am annoyed about it, though not enough to do anything, so I stand up to leave. Several servants move to block the door. One of them tells me, with enormous confidence, that I had better not be running off to report them, and informs me that Wang family men are as good as heaven in Chungpyeong City. I agree that the Wang family is heaven in Chungpyeong City, and point out that unfortunately he is not surnamed Wang. They all practice mortal martial arts, I notice, and by mortal standards they are not bad. He is furious, which I expected, because a dog of the Wang family who has spent his life claiming to be Wang family cannot let a child speak to him like that. He throws a punch. I catch it, close my hand without effort, and his fist comes apart, and then he is on the floor making a noise I would rather not have heard. A young man in expensive clothes strolls in and looks me over with an expression I dislike immediately, and I follow his gaze and find the famous young master. Their squabbles are nothing to me, but mortals are the foundation the cultivation world stands on, and the foundation the Wang family stands on. I am not going to watch this one chew holes in it. So I throw him a token and tell him to find the man named on it and take his punishment. Second Uncle Wang Songgong gave me that token before I left the residence, and I had not expected to spend it tonight. The young master is drawing breath to explode when he reads what is written on it, and his hand shakes so badly he nearly goes to his knees. By the time he looks up again, I am not there. I leave the opera garden, wander a while longer, and turn back toward the residence. Cheongpyeong City holds over 1 million people, 100,000 of them carrying the Wang name. That puts thousands of children in the testing age band. I do not slack off. I stand beside Wang Songang from first light, child after child stepping up to the stone and walking away with the light gone out of them. My heart stays flat, because cultivating immortality is hard by design, and simply entering the Tao eliminates the overwhelming majority of everyone alive. It takes the whole day to finish Chungpyeong City, and 2 children come back with spiritual roots, which counts as a pleasant surprise. Wang Songang smiles and says it is much better than last year. I agree out loud that neither of the 2 years before produced a single root, and he looks at me with an expression I cannot read. I run back over my own sentence, hunting for whatever was wrong with it, while he lets the silence sit. When he finally speaks, it is to tell me that the young master I ran into the night before has already been punished. He says I did well. The Wang family has rules. Mortals of other surnames matter to its development as much as we do. He will have the Cheongpyeong City clan elders manage our own people strictly from now on. I tell him it is all for the family's betterment. Whether that punishment ever actually happened is not something I care about. He asks how many more cities need testing. I count 5, and he tells me to leave the children here and collect them on the way back. City after that, and everyone comes up empty. No more spiritual roots are born anywhere on the route. 10 days go by in a blur. Back in Chungpyeong City comes an order I do not understand, to deliver the children to the Shinong Gate market. I say straight out that this does not conform to the rules. Wang Songang is certain, and he puts a letter in my hand in the clan chief's own writing. These letters are specially made and no outsider can forge one. He asks whether I can find the Shinong Gate market, and I tell him I have been once and should not get lost. So I gather the 3 children onto a spirit boat and go. Puzzled the whole way, doing it anyway, mostly because I trust the clan chief. Half a day of flight puts us on the outskirts of the Shinong Gate market, where 7th Grandpa Wang Zhonggong is already waiting to stop us. He tells me to hand them over. My mission is complete. I had planned to trade for a few more pill formulas, and he refuses me flat, saying he is busy and I should come back later. So I get sent home with an empty pouch and a question nobody will answer. A few days later, a new clansman turns up on the mountain, said to have tested positive this year, except he is not one of the 3 I escorted. Wang Zhengyo and Wang Zhengseo do not know either. What exactly is this family doing? Something else takes the question out of my hands. On a demon beast hunt in the Chongpeng mountain range, my uncle Wang Songtan has perished, taken in the mouth of a 2nd-tier demon beast, with no body left to bring home. The news lands heavy, and what it mostly does is turn my mind toward my parents, who are on that same mountain doing that same work. Then the shade locust tree hands me an anomaly. Inside the space in its trunk is a soul wearing my uncle's face, and I call out without thinking, and the cloudy pupils slowly clear. He is as shaken as I am when he recognizes me, and then he floats clean out of the trunk. He says he must still be alive, then corrects himself, because he perished and his body went down a second-tier demon beast's throat, and yet the boy in front of him is real. He asks where this is. I tell him it is the Wang family, the valley, a place he has almost certainly never heard of even though it sits inside our own territory. Our eyes go to the shade locust tree at the same moment and we both understand something. No adjective I own is large enough for that spirit plant, because whatever my uncle is now, and whatever that crowd in the trunk is, the tree did it. I ask whether he still has his memories. He has nothing from after he perished, only opening his eyes and seeing me, and everything before is intact. So I go and fetch Wang Zhengyo and Wang Zhengso specially. Neither of them can see a thing, and I get scolded for wasting their afternoon. My uncle explains that only someone with divine sense can see him, which rules out both elders and my cousin. That knowledge simply appeared in his head like the rest. Then he calls me a brat and says divine sense at the early stage of chi refinement makes me a genius. I take the compliment whole. I ask how he feels, and he says no different from when he was alive. He can still cultivate, but he is bound to the shade locust tree and goes with it if it perishes. His cultivation no longer runs on spiritual chi at all. It runs on the growth of the tree and on the other souls inside it, and his strength is exactly what it was on the day he died. He says the other souls are clan elders from among the family's mortals, and that every one of them reached innate or above. I know the mortal ladder well enough. Body forging, outer strength, inner strength, innate, and grandmaster at the top. An innate martial artist matches a cultivator at the first or second layer of chi refinement, and a grandmaster matches the second or third. The Wang family carries an enormous mortal population, and while it would be an exaggeration to say someone dies every day, it is not much of one. Only the ones standing at innate and above are being reborn, and that single rule explains the whole pattern. The shade locust tree has no use for the weak. He adds that those clan elders have no intelligence left while he talks the same as ever, and that this comes down to strength too. Then he stops hiding it and tells me that he and Wang Songsu broke through to Foundation establishment at the same time. My mouth twitches. Lined up against the timeline, they are the batch the clan chief announced. One success, one perished, one severely injured, but two of them succeeded, so the third made it too. I have no idea who that is or where he is standing right now. I ask how many things this family is hiding. He shakes his head and says to put that to the clan chief, since the rest of us only know our own affairs. So I bring it back to the part I can actually reason about. A reborn Foundation establishment cultivator keeps his intelligence and memories. A mortal martial artist comes back a puppet, and what a chi refinement cultivator becomes is an open question. My uncle suggests, cheerfully, that I could always run the experiment on myself. My face goes flat. The shade locust tree is too terrifying to talk about, so I do not. I lock it down completely and decide the clan chief hears it when the right opening comes and not one day earlier. My uncle settles cross-legged inside the trunk, drinking the tree's vitality to cultivate and hunting through it for whatever else it hides. If there is no ugly side effect buried in this, our clansmen never have to fear falling again. The count of mortal clan elders in there keeps climbing. Everyone reached the end of a lifespan and got carried into rebirth by a tree they never knew existed. Had I found it a few years sooner, I might have met my grandfather again. The shade locust tree gets more care from me than anything else in the valley and grows slower than anything else in it. I try one method after another, and none of them moves the needle. What cracks it is an afternoon when I eat near the trunk. My bowl of spirit rice and demon beast meat comes up short without my having touched it. The idea lands whole. I haul the big cuts of demon beast meat out of my immortal cave, build an altar, and set out incense, candles, and meat one piece at a time. The meat visibly shrinks while I watch, and the tree answers by thickening its branches until the canopy above me goes dense. The trouble is arithmetic. There is only so much spirit rice and demon beast meat in this valley, which means going to the clan chief. He will spend the whole clan's strength on this the moment he sees it. Wang Zhengyo passes the word along and he arrives annoyed, telling me this had better be very important or he will spank me. Cheongpeng mountain range is eating him alive even with clansmen helping, and Wang Sangtan falling has cost the clan more than it can afford. I take him to the shade locust tree and say nothing, because nothing needs saying. Then my uncle floats out of the trunk and the clan chief nearly loses his footing. He says the words ghost cultivator out loud, and then demands to know when my uncle became one. He has never seen one in the flesh, but he has read enormously on the subject, and is certain the moment he lays eyes on him. My uncle sighs a little and points at the tree behind him, and the clan chief's attention shifts and finds the space inside the trunk. He recognizes most of the souls in there. Between the two explanations, he gets the whole picture. When I ask what a ghost cultivator is, Wang Myongge says it is a special kind of cultivator, mysterious and extremely rare. Bitter words for a man who has investigated them for years only to have one turn up in his own clan. He asks whether I called him back purely to show him the tree and my uncle. I tell him it is a major event by itself, because the clan's cultivators no longer have to fear falling. He smiles, which he almost never does. Then I raise the second thing. I have tried many methods to grow the shade locust tree, and sacrifice works best by far, and the valley does not hold enough demon beast meat to feed it. He waves it off as easy. Demon beasts are hunted in Chongpeng mountain range every day, and he will have clansmen ship the corpses back for me to collect from Wangsong-su. He will send the clan's formation master to strengthen the formation on the outskirts of the valley. He will not put one on the tree itself, since the fewer people who know the better. Every problem I own is a minor issue in his eyes. What he actually cares about is standing right there being dead. He asks my uncle how far he can travel from the tree now. My uncle says there is no hard limit, but the further out he goes, the weaker he gets, shedding a small realm every 30 miles. He can feel that loosening as the tree grows. He does not hide anything because he already knows what the clan chief wants from him. He says he may be no help at all out in Chongpeng mountain range, but nobody needs to worry about safety inside the clan again. The clan chief takes that without a trace of disappointment, since a guarantee standing at home is worth more than a sword out on the mountain. Then he turns on me and says my divine sense means I cultivated the soul skill and drove it to perfection. He has always liked me, first for the way the Gomok Bongchun Sutra lifts every spiritual plant I touch, and now for this. There is no hiding it, so I stop trying. He hands me the Blazing Soul Meditation, a foundation establishment cultivation technique that runs to the 9th layer. It turns divine sense into a blazing fire that burns an enemy's divine soul. He is not stingy with good clansmen, and I take it with my whole face smiling and put it away fast. He knows I still have secrets, warns me not to be ostentatious, and says to keep developing quietly while the elders handle everything outside. He will tell Wang Song-su to stop dropping clan affairs on me, though only until I turn 18, after which low-profile work starts coming my way. I let him know I understand. He has no idea how thoroughly I agree, since the whole shape of my future is a loop between the spirit fields and this valley. He stays a while longer, asking my uncle about everything that happened after he fell, and then he leaves. Inside my immortal cave, I open the Blazing Soul Meditation and read it properly, because a foundation establishment cultivation technique is worth attention on its name alone. I melt my divine sense into a pale blue flame and let it float beside me, and a few clusters of soul fire put real fear into my uncle. It has barely started and it already kills. When I ask whether he is afraid of it, he nods and explains that my ordinary spell attacks pass straight through him, while an attack on the divine soul genuinely hurts. He adds that cultivation techniques aimed at the divine soul are extremely rare, that the Wang family owns exactly 2, and that I have now learned both. My eyes light up at that. If I can burn a foundation establishment ghost cultivator, then my divine sense may already be heavy enough to trade blows with a foundation establishment cultivator on his feet. I should find a chance to spar with one of ours, and if nobody in the clan will play along, there is always the 18-star glazed gourd sitting in my spirit beast bag. My gaze drifts toward the bag. The 18-star glazed gourd feels it, and the small tremor it sends back shakes me from scalp to heel. Better not. Whole demon beast corpses start coming back from Chengpeng mountain range in a steady stream. I collect the storage pouch from Wang Song-su myself. She wants to know why I need this many corpses, and why the clan chief keeps handing them over. The secrecy order he attached only sharpened her curiosity. I laugh and explain nothing. Back at the valley, I lay the corpses out in rows before the shade locust tree and begin the sacrifice. Faces and hides and bones vanish one after another, and the tree ends the day several times thicker. My uncle comes tearing out to tell me it is nowhere near enough, because the tree's growth advances him too, and he feels every inch of it. I remind him that hunting demon beasts is brutal work, and most of the catch goes to the Shinong sect for hunting points, so we cannot ask for too much. He knows that perfectly well and is in a hurry anyway, since his cultivation depends on the tree or other souls and is slowed to a crawl. Then he suggests I find him some cultivator souls to speed things along, and promises not to treat me unfairly. Where exactly does he expect me to shop for cultivator souls? A needle in a haystack would be the easier errand. I leave him to it and get on with the day's work. Four Joys is lying nearby chewing wind cloud grass, the roots and stems and leaves left over after seeding, all of which goes to him now. When I ask whether he has reached the 3rd layer of chi refinement, a wave of spiritual chi rolls off him and he lows in confirmation. He has eaten a great many failed medicinal pills lately, so the breakthrough was only a matter of time. That is worth celebrating, so I reward myself with a very large meal. Another year of keeping my head down, and the end of it arrives. Refining yellow sprout pills and the rest of my repertoire finally clicks together with 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones. I can run about 3 pill furnaces at once now and hold a pill formation rate above 55%, which does enormous things to my income. Better than that, my parents come home. The hunting teams have gone to a rotation until the beast tide breaks, so my parents are back to rest with several other clansmen. My immortal cave gets cleaned every month, so there is not a speck of dust in it. The three of us sit down to dinner like a family that never split up. They talk about Chungpung mountain range and keep dropping food into my bowl while they do it. I ask whether we can hold this beast tide. My father, Wang Sungmyung, has no confidence in it at all and says only that it is tough. We have prepared a great deal and the demon beasts still outnumber the preparation. The positions will be breached, and the only questions are how long they hold and how many beasts they take down with them. Every beast that dies out there never reaches the people behind the line. Then I ask why I see no sense of crisis in the mortal cities, since there are far more mortals and somebody should have heard something. My father asks what difference it would make. Every mortal method there is amounts to a joke in front of a demon beast. And even an init or a grandmaster is 1 or 2 bites and gone. Peace and steady work while the world holds, and every man for himself the moment it does not. I already understand it. When a beast tide comes, a mortal's survival is luck, and that is true of every cultivation force here, because saving them would cost enormously and accomplish little. So I ask whether we are giving up on our own mortal family members too. Neither of my parents says anything. The silence answers it, and I let the subject go. A comfortable New Year's Eve, and I turn 17. Next year I turn 18 and the family starts handing me real assignments. Next year is also the year the beast tide erupts. That is not much runway. 700 years are banked on the far end of my life. The Gomok Bongchen Sutra wants 300 more before it steps up to major achievement. So I am shopping with a purse I cannot open. So I go spend elsewhere. At the scripture pavilion I pick out a blade technique. The random chopping blade technique. Then 2,000 contribution points go on a 9-ring broadsword. A late-stage chi refinement magical artifact. 30 years come off the far end of my life in one clean payment, and the random chopping blade technique goes straight to perfection, and my combat power climbs with it. The blazing soul meditation refuses to take my money. I have only just begun it, and my cheat will not push its proficiency, which I suspect is my realm holding the door shut on a foundation establishment technique. I lay the whole arsenal out in my head the way a soldier lays his kit on the bed before a march. The random chopping blade technique for anything that gets close. The golden Gyeong sword art and the Yongseo Pon technique for anything that stays far. The Vajra Buddha body technique to keep me standing. The fallen leaf footwork to keep me moving. The turtle breath concealment art to keep me unfound. The soul skill and the blazing soul meditation for the divine sense fight. And one chi transforms into 3 pure ones, multiplying it all. Cultivation techniques are the one thing I am no longer short of. My storage pouch is stuffed with talismans of every description, which should cover most of what the world throws at me. What I am short of is magical artifacts, because one 9-ring broadsword is not an armory. 4 Joys needs defensive pieces too, or a 3rd layer chi refinement small fry like him dies the first time something serious looks at him. There go the contribution points I bled for. I work the whole list out and explain it to Wang Sungzu while collecting the next load of demon beast corpses. She tells me to hand over all my spirit stones and all my contribution points, and she will buy a few at the Shenong Gate Market. All of them, I say, and I am not happy about it. She asks when I got so stingy. Magical artifacts are not consumables like spirit medicine and talismans, so of course they cost more. That broadsword was discounted only because the family counted my contributions. Then she takes the spirit stones out of my hand, says the family covers any shortfall as an advance, and wants no fee for the errand. I tell her she is the best cousin alive and nearly mean it, because my pockets are empty again and that weightless feeling is unpleasant. She leaves. It is the first time she has left the family since taking over its affairs, and it is done quietly. The reason cannot possibly be limited to buying a child his magical artifacts. Outside the clan, only the 2 Shenong sect cultivators stationed in Wang family territory know she is gone. Somebody leaks it. That same night, unfamiliar cultivators come over the wards again. Most of our people never notice, because a swarm of spirit beasts surrounds them in the dark and kills them where they stand. Whoever finds the bodies the next morning finds them in pieces, spread across the ground, and it is not a pleasant thing to walk through. The 2 Shenong sect cultivators stationed in Wang family territory get recalled without explanation. Wang Sangzu's reputation climbs again, high enough now to crowd the clan chief himself. I cannot make the arithmetic work, because her spirit bee queen is at Foundation establishment as well. 1 woman and 3 insects, all at Foundation establishment. That is a heavier hand than most Foundation establishment families can put on a table, and nobody outside gets an answer out of her either. When she comes back, everyone treats her carefully. She throws a pile of magical artifacts at me and tells me I now owe the family 10,000 contribution points, and my voice comes out considerably louder than I intend. 20 acres of Chongpyeong grass earned me 300 spirit stones across 5 months, which is 3,000 contribution points. The debt is more than 3 times that. She is completely unbothered and tells me to look at the goods first. The storage pouch is full. A spirit boat, 3 yellow banners, a small sword, and a nose ring. Everyone built for a cultivator at the late stage of chi refinement. She skips the spirit boat since transport explains itself. The 3 yellow banners are the 3 flavors apricot yellow banners, and they form a formation together, good for defense and for trapping whatever comes at me. The small sword is a mouth sword, nourished inside the abdomen and shot out through the mouth in a life or death moment, and no chi refinement cultivator alive can dodge it. The nose ring is for 4 joys, and once activated it turns aside 1 strike from a foundation establishment cultivator, or several from the late stage of chi refinement. My mood improves with every line of that list. I thank her. She says she is glad I am satisfied, and then she is gone. I do not ask about the Spirit Bee Queen. That is her secret, and I would rather not be swatted flat for curiosity. I fit the nose ring on 4 joys and spend the next days getting familiar with everything else. Meanwhile, the family quietly settles on the idea that Wang Sang-soo is the next clan chief, and they begin treating her like one. Wang Myonghae takes the opening and comes home to announce his abdication, handing the seat over and stepping back to Grand Elder. There is no succession ceremony. She postpones it herself until after the beast tide and the old clan chief approves. Ceremony or not, the Ju family and the Yu family both send generous gifts. The Chi refinement families line up behind them so as not to be left out. The Shinong sect goes further than anyone and sends a longevity pill. Strength is the only currency anybody actually respects. If my cousin were a little weaker, those gifts would be threats instead. None of it is my business, so I go back to farming. Then third grandma, Wang Zhengyo, spends an enormous stack of contribution points to buy that longevity pill, and Wang Sang-soo delivers it in person. I understand it completely. Aside from the Grand Elder, she is the oldest person here, close to 100, and her lifespan is genuinely short. Without that pill, she would have ended up inside the Shade Locust Tree before long. 1 longevity pill buys 10 more years, and it only ever works once in a person's life, which tells me exactly how much time third grandma has left. Her color comes back while we watch her swallow it, and everyone smiles, and I congratulate her while staring at the empty bottle like a starving man. Then I sidle up to the clan chief and ask whether she can get any more longevity pills. She looks at me sideways and asks what a child wants with a lifespan problem. If it is for my parents, they are in their prime and there is no sense preparing this early, and if it is for the Grand Elder, I will not outlive him anyway. I can outlive every single one of them. I keep that to myself and say instead that nobody in the world dislikes a longer life. She says the family buys them with demon beast hunting points, and a few more are supposedly in storage. None of it matters because I have no contribution points and still owe 10,000. Those pills came out of the Shinong sect days ago, and almost nobody knows they exist. I get as far as asking whether I could possibly, and she cuts it off. No more advances until the debt is paid. Older members come first, and my turn is not coming. On any other subject she would negotiate, not this one. So I ask whether there is at least a pill formula for it. There is, and her eyes curve into crescents when she says so. The longevity pill formula is not a secret at all, and plenty of families and loose cultivators hold a copy, but none of them can source the spirit medicine. Like the Foundation Establishment pill, the matching spirit medicine only grows in the spirit treasure mystic realm. I refuse to believe there are no spirit seeds anywhere. A plant confined to one mystic realm means the outside environment stopped suiting it or over-harvesting finished it off, and neither means every seed is gone. She says the Shinong sect is rumored to have seeds, that they cost a fortune, and that cultivating them is brutally difficult. Then she reminds me that the longevity pill is a second-grade medicinal pill built from second-grade spirit medicine. She asks whether I know how hard it is to become a second-grade alchemist, since only the 3 great golden core sects have one. She is deliberately cooling me down before I do something stupid. I let it drop, because every road here dead ends at the Sanong sect, and grinding away at what I can actually reach is the more reliable plan. Third grandma looks 10 years younger and moves like it. She takes to quizzing me on spirit plant farmer knowledge for sport, and I answer everything without effort. One afternoon she declares I know nearly as much as she and 6th grandfather combined, and that she is taking me to see some second-grade spirit plants. Deep in the valley there are a few of them behind a formation. I have never once been allowed near them. Standing down there while she works the formations open one at a time, I am so nervous my hands will not settle. Then the wards fall away and I go blank. Profound ice flowers, illusion heartgrass, and nightshade, 3 kinds of second-grade spirit plants. As a first-grade spirit plant farmer and a first-grade alchemist, I have seen all 3 in the legacy often enough to know them on sight. They are the main ingredients of the Foundation Establishment pill. No wonder this valley is guarded the way it is. It was never about the spirit fruits and the spirit medicine filling the terraces. It is about the 3 plants in front of me. Our family keeps its secrets better than I gave it credit for. It also settles my old suspicion that some spirit medicine survives only in the spirit treasure mystic realm because the outside world harvested it into extinction. And if we can grow them, the other families and the Shinong sect can too. She sees me recognize them and asks whether I can call their ripening time. About 20 years, I tell her, since reading ripeness is basic work for a spirit plant farmer and these are not difficult. Then she takes my hand and says she and Wang Zhongse are too old to see that day, so the spirit medicine will have to be mine. Most second-grade spirit medicine needs 100 years to grow, and even with the catalysis technique it runs to several decades. These have been protected too long to abandon halfway. When they mature, the Wang family gets more foundation establishment pills, and more foundation establishment pills is how a family stops being small. From today, the whole valley is mine, and the two of them will be my assistants. I want to refuse, and her eyes will not let me. Then I think it through. My grandfather had this exact conversation in mind when he sent me down here, because there is no other reason a boy my age would be told the valley existed. So I nod. The 3 second-grade spirit medicines stay behind their formation, and it stays shut, because the first layer of the Gomak Bangshun Sutra only manages a middling effect on second-grade plants. That puts my eyes on the second layer of the sutra, which puts me back at the Shanam sect, since my grandfather traded for the sutra there and no route to the second layer goes around them. Sooner or later, I am going to have to walk in through their gate. Taking over the valley changes almost nothing about my days. Wang Zhongyo and Wang Zhongso drink tea most of the time, and it never once costs the spirit medicine anything. Clan Chief Wang Songsu is told, raises no objection, and puts me on a salary of 20,000 contribution points a year. She also makes a point of saying that whatever the Grand Elder told me, she holds the seat now and I listen to her. I am not 18 yet, but working for the family is not being forced when the family supplies the resources. The valley is a major source of spirit stones and I am not to ruin it. I take that seriously, since I have lived down here for years and have no intention of being reckless with it. Then I tug her sleeve, and she steps back and tells me to say whatever it is out loud. I compliment her on seeing straight through people, and ask whether the family has any other good legacies. She looks at me like I have grown a second head and asks whether I am seriously thinking of picking up another one. I do not deny it. She says my alchemist legacy is half-baked and I am already eyeing the next dish, which is eating from my bowl while staring at the pot. Refining yellow sprout pills does not make me an alchemist. She is genuinely annoyed. In her view, I learn fast despite 5 spiritual roots, and even my alchemy has real foundation. The lesson about not biting off more than I can chew refuses to stick. Other legacies are off the table. Spirit plant farmer and alchemist, nothing else. She turns to go and I pull her back by the sleeve, because I want to improve the alchemist legacy and there are no new pill formulas. She realizes she has been steered into exactly this spot and takes it badly. Then she agrees to have 7th Grandpa trade for a few more and tells me to keep taking advances, since the valley brings in 20,000 a year anyway. I thank her fast and watch her leave. A few days later, the sulfur pill and the detoxification pill formulas arrive. I know the sulfur pill by reputation, since it strips away chi and I never managed to trade for it from 7th Grandpa before. The detoxification pill is new to me, said to cure any poison in a chi refinement stage cultivator, and Wang Songsu chose it herself. A large shipment of spirit medicine comes with them, along with her reasoning. Both pills work well on chi refinement stage cultivators. The beast tide breaks next year, and the family has none in stock. She wants a great many before the year turns. She has done the sums on how fast I pick up a new pill, and another working alchemist is never a bad thing to own. I tell her not to worry and that if the family ever runs short of anything, she can come straight to me. Time is the only thing I am actually short of. Formulas and spirit medicine go into the immortal cave with me, and I do not come out for a while. By November, both pills come off the furnace cleanly, and the family hands me a mass production order. 10 contribution points per pill, with the spirit medicine supplied, which sends my balance climbing so fast that nearly a third of the advance is already repaid. 4 Joys watches the spirit fields for me most days and I only look in occasionally. When I finally sit down and take a proper breath, my lifespan reads 1,006 years. Saved at last. I have starved the Gomak Bangshun Sutra for months precisely so I could do this in one sitting, and now I feed it every year I own. 980 years go into the fire. The sutra crosses into major achievement, which puts my success rate on a first-grade spirit plant at 80%. My realm breaks with it into the 8th layer of chi refinement. Morning after. I count what is left standing. Wang Namnam, 17 years old, with 26 years still on the far end of that life, and every one of them spent the second I stopped being careful. 8th layer of chi refinement, and the little mark beside the realm is still lit, still waiting for me to pay. The Gomak Bangshun Sutra sits at its first layer, 1% into major achievement, with the same mark beside it. Under that, the working list, the turtle breath concealment art, the soul skill, the spirit rain technique, the golden Gyong sword art, the young Seo palm technique, then the Vajra Buddha body technique, the fallen leaf footwork, the random chopping blade technique, and one chi transforms into 3 pure ones at its first layer, and perfection. The Blazing Soul meditation is 7% into beginner and refuses to take payment. My legacies read first grade spirit plant farmer, 9% into minor achievement, and first grade alchemist, 31% into proficient. Nobody would call that a rookie's ledger. The 100-year beast tide keeps getting closer and the whole cultivation world has gone jumpy about it. At the end of the year, the 3 great golden core sects call on every affiliated family and every loose cultivator of weight. It is a joint oath-taking ceremony mostly to steady everybody's nerves. I hear nothing about how it went. What I do know is that annual first-tier spirit plants like Chungpyeong grass and Windcloud grass now ripen in roughly 2.5 months under my catalysis technique. The honey peach tree runs the same cycle. Wang Song-su is delighted with me. In her eyes, I am no longer a clansman but a heaven and earth treasure that ripens spirit plants on a schedule. She calls me the family's lucky star, grinning. At this rate, the Wang family never lacks first-tier spirit plants again and can sell the surplus in bulk. The timing is excellent, because everything is going for absurd prices. Then she asks how much spiritual chi the catalysis technique actually costs me. The family is adding another 20% to my contribution in spirit stones for cultivation. Clansmen will build a spirit gathering array in both my immortal caves so I recover faster. She arranges all of it on the spot, because no cultivator anywhere near us can force a spirit plant to maturity at 80%. She adds a personal reward on top and deliberates a long moment over it. Then she takes a jade bottle from her storage pouch and tells me to give it to Four Joys. The moment I open it, the smell hits, sweet enough that my mouth floods and I want to drink it myself. She tells me it is royal jelly from a Foundation establishment bee queen, and that it improves a demon beast's bloodline and lifts its potential. The spirit honey the family sells is not fit to wipe its feet. A treasure, and I am to cherish it. Then she produces a talisman, says the royal jelly is her secret, and tells me to bleed on it so it stays that way. I know an oath talisman when I see one, since I watched my grandfather use one, and I know how it works. My essence blood goes onto the talisman, and something clamps shut in me, certain subjects bound off by the heavenly Tao. Forcing a word of them past my teeth would come back on me hard, which is exactly why the oath talisman is good news. Now I can ask. I ask whether the 18-star glazed gourd and the black armor king bug also reached Foundation establishment on royal jelly. She calls me clever and answers straight. The spirit bee queen is her natal spirit insect, so it broke through to Foundation establishment alongside her. The royal jelly it brews jumped in potency, and that carried her other spirit insects up. The problem is volume. That small bottle in my hand is half a year of production, and it is still enough to transform Four Joys completely. Then she tells me to stop standing there and go find him. He is out in the spirit field. I wave the bottle at him, tell him he has run into a genuine opportunity, and tell him to open up. He opens that big ox mouth on the general principle that obeying me works out. The instant the stopper comes off, his nose starts working, and one flick of his head takes the whole bottle out of my hand and into his mouth. He goes glassy with pleasure. Under all that yellow hide, something starts quietly rearranging itself, and since improving a bloodline takes time, I leave him to it and head back to the valley. My uncle is cultivating under the shade locust tree. He watches me come down the path and asks, with far too much enjoyment, why a boy this busy does not simply make himself clan chief. I tell him not to joke, because that seat is not something a child gets to sit in. And then I ask why he called me over. He says he has found something new about the tree's abilities, or more precisely about his own. Those mortal souls with no intelligence in them can be controlled, made to fight or made to work, much the way a puppet is. That alone raises my eyebrow. Then he says he can feel something else. If the shade locust tree is upgraded far enough, those souls forced to grow with it may get their intelligence and their old memories back. I had assumed only a ghost cultivator like him could keep cultivating and keep gaining strength from the tree. Apparently the mortal souls can do it too. So I ask whether the tree could build the family a ghost cultivator army. He says it is very possible. Innate and grandmaster martial artists are hard to produce, but next to the odds of a child being born with a spiritual root, they are practically common. The Wang family holds 1 million mortal clansmen, over 100 grandmaster martial artists, among them and close to 1,000 innate martial artists. Everyone is a future ghost cultivator. It is a strange road into cultivation, and it is ours alone. I ask how strong a mortal soul has to get before the memories return. He estimates the 5th layer of chi refinement and admits he could be wrong. I think about it. The sacrifices have run without a break, and the tree has grown a great deal, and its aura still has not reached 2nd-tier spirit plant. Worse, I have no way to measure how much sacrifice it takes to push those souls up, so the question stays open. All I can do is burn more demon beasts, and with the beast tide coming, there will be no shortage of corpses. The tree is too mysterious to solve quickly, and when the tide hits, a good number of our clansmen are going to fall, which is exactly the moment the Shade Locust tree gets to hand them a second life. Four Joys comes plodding back while my uncle and I are finishing up. He left as a calf. He returns better than 10 feet tall, the size of a full-grown stub-horn yellow ox, with heavy plate-like horns and an aura at the fourth layer of chi refinement. Royal jelly is apparently not a subtle substance. He drops his head so I can reach him, and his back is wide enough now to sit on and play games on. He presses his skull into my shoulder to thank me. None of what happens on the defense line reaches me until much later, so let it stand out there the way it stood. The whole cultivation world has gone taut, and Chungpung Mountain Range worst of all, where cultivators and demon beasts collide without pause. The beasts have massed into one dark endless body across the slopes, and they look prepared. Hunting teams pull back into their defensive positions and wait. Wang Myung-ae looks at that mass and thinks it larger than it should be, because the demon beasts have spent the last century developing too. The Ju family's clan chief beside him hopes the defenses let them kill enough, or the mortals will suffer terribly. Then he asks Wang Myung-ae to lend the Ju family a hand if it comes to that. Wang Myung-ae answers coolly that if he survives, lending a hand is no problem, and that if the Wang family calls, the Ju family had better not stand and watch. They call it a deal twice over and leave it there. His divine sense keeps sweeping the tide. Inside a few breaths, he has picked out Foundation Establishment demon beasts in it, which does nothing good for a heart already sitting heavy. He asks Wang Zhongbi whether the cultivators promised by the Shenong sect have arrived. She tells him all 5 are here, 1 late stage, 1 middle stage, and 3 early stage. With the cultivation families this weekend, the 3 great golden core sects prop up their affiliated families so no flank collapses, and those 5 are the Wang family share. It is a serious reinforcement. He tells her to have the family ready. High in the sky, 3 golden core cultivators and 3 golden core great demons face each other, apparently talking. Wang Zhongbi goes to make the arrangements. Everyone is strung tight after years of preparing for a day that has finally arrived. Then something in the far sky ruptures. Spells collide up there with enough force to sound like the heavens tearing. The sky goes black, thunder and lightning arrive together, and the rain comes down in sheets. Magical robes shed the water and the ground cannot, so it pools and runs and gathers into streams. The clash overhead works like a starting signal. The tide comes down the slope with the rain like a burst dam, roaring the way a mountain roars. As far as anyone can see, there is nothing but demon beasts. Every cultivator sets his jaw, a magical artifact in one hand and a talisman in the other, ready to die where he stands. The order to raise the formations goes out, and the whole line lights at once, one formation nested inside another. It becomes a wall with no seam for a beast to find, sky and ground both accounted for. The order to throw comes next, and countless offensive talismans go off together. Every kind of attack there is blooming and raining down into the tide. Then the Foundation Establishment cultivators are told to lock onto the Foundation Establishment demon beasts and give them nothing. And they move. Up close, the fighting is unbelievably fast. Demon beast corpses shatter by the thousand under the bombardment, and blood runs into the rainwater until the streams turn into rivers. And still there are more of them. An uncountable number push through the formations. Every impact costs lives. The wall that stood like a mountain begins to lean, and the sound of formations cracking carries down the line like a bell rung for the dead. A Yu family cultivator says out loud that half a day has not passed, and the formations are already going. It frightens him, because corpses are piled into hills, and the beasts behind them have not slowed. The Yu family specializes in formations. If theirs are this fragile, he does not want to think about anyone else's. Then he looks around and sees every cultivator burning everything they have to hold the formation cores, not one stepping back, and fighting spirit turns out to be contagious. He throws the fear away and goes back into the tide. The first defensive line of Chungpung Mountain Range falls. Word travels fast. In a single day, the tide has eaten years of preparation, though that preparation was never the only thing waiting. And the human race has not lost yet. So fast. I have never seen a beast tide with my own eyes, and I genuinely cannot make it fit in my head. That formations built over years came apart inside one day. My uncle appears out of nowhere and says there is nothing to be shocked about, since he has read the records of the last tide and it was a living hell. Then he asks why I do not talk the clan chief into putting me somewhere safe, since nobody can promise the Wang family will not be next. I shake my head. The seniors of this family are all out there fighting, and I am not walking away from them. And beyond that, my cheat would never allow it. The thing is bound to the Wang family. If the family is broken, I have no idea whether that counts as its demise. And if it does, my eternal life goes with it. Without the cheat, 5 spiritual roots puts Foundation Establishment permanently out of reach, and a few extra years of ordinary life are not worth the trip. So I change the subject, which is also my way of telling him to stop planning an escape. I ask whether any new ghost cultivators have been born, And he says none, which is good news, because it means no cultivator of ours has fallen. He tells me the plan was always that once the first line is about to break, every sect and family withdraws and everything shifts to the second and third lines. A Foundation establishment cultivator hears things, so when I ask him to explain, he clears his throat and asks whether I know about gunpowder. I do. This world has it, invented by a mortal, crude and weak enough to be abandoned, until a cultivator reworked it into something several times stronger. That formula never leaked. Even improved, it barely matters to a cultivator, since a man at the first layer of chi refinement can simply step out of the blast. So interest died again. Then my uncle tells me an enormous quantity of it has been buried behind the first line, running the whole length of the defense in something like 10 miles deep. 10 miles. What a scale to build at. And I still cannot see the point, because a first layer chi refinement cultivator is not afraid of gunpowder. My uncle puts on his most profound expression and says the improved gunpowder has been tested. With enough of it, killing demon beasts at the third layer of chi refinement is easy. Killing anything higher turns into a burden, mostly because the quantity required climbs by multiples with every step up. But the quantity buried out there is beyond anything ever attempted, and it will not stop at the third layer. Even demon beasts at the sixth layer of chi refinement will die in it. He is a little drunk on it by the end. No human race cultivator has ever done this before, and the result is going to be spectacular. Sixth layer, I say, and go straight to the hole in it. What about the stronger ones? Gunpowder does not touch those either. He turns it back on me and asks which realm of demon beast fills the tide. Chi refinement, obviously, since across this entire world, human or demon beast, the chi refinement stage is where nearly everybody lives. He corrects me on the detail. It is specifically the early stage of chi refinement that dominates, and those beasts are the tide's main body. Erase them and casualties among cultivators and mortals drop enormously. That is the whole reason for burying gunpowder on that scale, and if it works, the second line pays for itself. Then he starts saying something about demon beasts lying dead everywhere, stops in the middle of it, and shoots off toward the mouth of the valley. I call after him. Running out on a conversation halfway through is genuinely immoral, and somebody could choke to death waiting for the end of that sentence. He says he is going to Cheongpung mountain range, that he almost forgot he is a ghost cultivator, and that he needs souls to cultivate on. His voice thins out to nothing on the way. He is right, of course. An enormous battle just tore through that mountain and left cultivators and demon beasts dead across it, which makes it a paradise for someone like him. He never even reaches the range. From a long way off, he sees the light go up, a wall of fire, and a mountain of dust climbing into the sky. Then the explosions arrive and shake the earthly square itself. The hot wind strips and lights every plant it touches, leaving 3 miles of ground in ruin. Over 300 miles away, I feel it come through the soles of my feet, and set beside what my uncle just told me, it explains itself. He does not retreat. Damage at that rank cannot reach him, and everything the blast touched is dead or dying, especially at the center, where the smoke clears off a crater. So he floats over the field, gathering the loose souls and refining them one after another, telling himself how satisfying it is with demon beast souls covering the sky. Better he use them than let them scatter into nothing. He works fast and nobody notices him, and for a while that killing field is his private paradise. Then he leaves on his own, because several Foundation establishment demon beasts are coming and he cannot afford them. Most of the low-rank beasts are gone. Plenty of the tide is still standing, only stunned. By the time it shakes itself back into motion, the Foundation establishment demon beasts have reformed the survivors and sent them at human race territory again. The real meat grinder starts here. The second line did exactly what it was built to do, deleting the low ranks and sparing the mortals a simple slaughter. Anything that walked out of that fire fights like it. As for the third line, there was no third line. There were only ever 2, and now that the numbers have been cut down, the rest belongs to the cultivators themselves. The tide does not stop. It rolls into the human race's living areas, and the 2 sides meet with a roar. I know none of that. What I know is that the shade locust tree has put out a few flowers, which means some of our people are dead, and not a few of them. It has been less than an hour since I felt the explosion. I go and ask third grandma how long a demon beast tide lasts. She says there is no telling, hours or days, because a tide always comes all at once and pulls back when it has spent itself. Then the human race counterattacks, and if it goes well, Cheongpung mountain range ends up ours. The clan chief will already have gathered the mortal grandmasters to follow the cultivators in, and claim ground once the counterattack starts. That is one way this family gets rich. I had no idea that was how it worked. She tells me opportunity and risk live in the same house. Without the payout, no cultivation family would face a tide at all, golden core sects blocking the front or not. The cultivators and families who survive one come out wealthy enough to grow for decades. That is how the human race came to hold as much living space as it does. My eyes get hot for a second and I put it down fast. A beast tide kills everyone who is not exceptionally strong or exceptionally lucky, and I am neither, so walking out there would be a slow way of committing suicide. Cheongpung mountain range is rich in resources, and if the human race truly takes it, there will be heaven and earth treasures in it. I ask what I can do now, since I am 18, and the family has given me work but has not sent me anywhere near the fighting. She tells me to stay where I am and grow more spirit plants. My catalysis technique has no equal. The clan chief will never risk it anywhere dangerous, and the family's future runs through me. She has always suspected me of being impulsive. Sent off, I go back to the shade locust tree, which now carries flowers, fruit, and several more souls than it did. I do not recognize any of them. They are not Wang family cultivators, they are Wang family mortals, which means the tide has already reached into our mortal cities. What I do not know, counting strangers, is that only Foundation establishment demon beasts can drive that deep that fast. Every one of them is being hunted by Foundation establishment cultivators the entire way. What ends it happens 300 miles from where I am standing, and I hear about it the way everyone else does. Secondhand and too late. Something detonates in the sky over Cheongpung mountain range, with a sound that flattens everyone under it. White light spilling to the horizon, and a red mist coming down behind. Human race and demon beast alike go still, attacks dying in their hands. The heavy rain turns blood red and soaks every robe on the field, and the smell puts a shake into people who have not stopped fighting in 2 days. Then somebody screams that the demon beasts are pulling back. They are. Across every position, the beasts break off and run like whipped dogs, and the ground they leave is carpeted with trampled bodies nobody spares a glance for. Another voice goes up telling everyone to charge into Cheongpung mountain range, and that lights the whole line. The tide is finished. The cultivators still standing understand that it is finally their turn. They lift their magical artifacts and walk out over blood-soaked ground after the ones who ran. High above all of it, a woman in a robe patterned with colored clouds stares at the place the sound came from and does not move. She tells her master to rest in peace, quietly, to nobody. Then she wipes her eyes, because she is the new sect leader of the Shinong sect and cannot afford the grief yet. Looking down at the earthly square, she tells every disciple what happened. The Shinong sect's Golden Core elder fought a Golden Core demon beast to exhaustion and detonated his own Golden Core, killing one and crippling a second. That is why the tide broke early. She orders them to set the mourning aside and put everything into the counterattack, taking territory for the human race, taking benefit for the sect, and taking resources for themselves. The Grand Elder's spirit is watching from heaven and will protect them, so every disciple is to slaughter every demon beast they can reach. That voice carries across heaven and earth, and it is how most cultivators learn why the tide turned. They shout back that the Grand Elder's righteousness was immense, and that they will kill every beast and buy the human race its future, whether any of them means it is between each man and himself. So the whole reversal comes down to the powers at the top settling it between them first. The demon beasts scatter, and the human race pours forward over ruins. Cities flatten past recognition. An unknown number of cultivation families erased entirely. Nobody stops to look. Their eyes are red for revenge, and redder for what is waiting in Cheongpung mountain range, because whoever gets there first gets to keep it. Wang Myonggae sends word to every surviving Wang family cultivator to gather and push to the very front. They come in one at a time, killing as they go, asking after each other as they arrive. He asks where Zhongbi is. Wang Songyu answers that cousin Wang Zhongbi has fallen, swallowed whole by a Foundation establishment demon beast, and his voice does not hold steady. The battle was not long and it took a great many of them. Then Wang Myonggae asks whether the family has been told. Wang Songsu already knows, and she is organizing the mortal grandmasters to follow at a safe distance. So claimed ground can be garrisoned at once. That is standard practice. Cultivators cannot be spared to stand on a rock when there are beasts to kill, and a mortal grandmaster can at least keep himself alive while holding a marker. He asks how many are left. Around 30 confirmed alive, and Wang Songyu's voice shakes on the number. The Wang family only ever had 140 or 50 cultivators, counting the Qi refinement family that merged in. Once the children in the home and market guards were set aside, a little over 80 came out here. More than half of them are gone. It is a monstrous casualty rate, and Wang Myonggae does not visibly care. He orders groups of 3 at minimum with nobody wandering off, and says that the moment land is taken, word goes to Wang Songsu to send people to hold it. They agree, split up, and spread out without ever letting him get far out of sight. Every other family and loose cultivator on the mountain is doing exactly the same arithmetic. They chase and kill the whole way in, losing more people doing it, and drive the beasts back into Cheongpung mountain range at last. That is when everyone understands a second different fight has just started. Figures pour into the range without hesitating. The forest that stood there is broken under hooves. Thick trunks toppled, long buried rock turned up to the light, and they push through it hunting treasured ground. Not every piece of land is worth a cultivator's attention, because without a spiritual vein in it, land is nothing, which is exactly why the scramble turns vicious. My uncle watches it from cover and remarks that the beast tide is over and the human race has gone straight back to fighting itself. He is far enough from the shade locust tree that his strength has dropped badly and he dares not show himself. He still sends Wang Myonghae word of several treasured sites he found ahead of everyone. Wang Myonghae goes straight to them without a moment's hesitation. He announces that the Wang family has taken this place first and everyone else can go around. The pressure rolling off a Foundation establishment cultivator does the rest, and the ones arriving behind him decide to be elsewhere. A clansman calls out delighted that it is a first-grade spiritual vein. A first-grade spiritual vein can carry dozens of chi refinement cultivators, which is an enormous thing for a family our size. He points at 3 people at random and tells them to wait for Wang Sang-su to send a garrison. Everyone else is told that whatever spirit plants and treasures they gather along the way are their own, and not to leave a single one behind. Then he takes the rest and charges out again. The mountain fills. Cultivators occupy most of it inside days. The demon beasts there killed or driven off, and a great many keep going, surging deeper into the 10,000 mountains. Wang Myonghae means to lead his people deeper as well, and my uncle's message stops him cold. There is great terror deep in the 10,000 mountains, and he is not to go in. A ghost cultivator's divine sense reaches places an ordinary cultivators never will. Wang Myonghae has always taken good advice when it is handed to him. He takes several spiritual vein sites and then forbids anyone to chase further, and the clansmen who resent it keep it to themselves. He orders the occupied veins organized and prepared for settlement, because the Wang family has taken enough here to live on for decades. The mortal cities took a beating too, so cultivators have to be sent to check them quickly and act hard if it comes to that. The final tally is 7 first-grade spiritual veins, spirit plants beyond counting, and a mountain of demon beast corpses. Clansmen are dispatched to sort all of it and patrol the ground while they do. Wang Sang-su sends up a mass of Init martial artists as laborers, which takes an enormous weight off the cultivators. She and the Grand Elder settle the shape of it between them. The family keeps 3 veins, the Yongseo, the Biokok, and the Gwaryong, and strips every spiritual resource near the other 4. Those 3 carry names purely so people can tell them apart. The Yongseo spiritual vein has a spring on it that runs off into a small stream. The Biokok spiritual vein has a little spirit stone mine beside it. The Gwaryong spiritual vein has a stand of spiritual fruit trees on it. Wang Sang-su agrees at once, since the other 4 are scattered, awkward to manage, and sit close enough to the 10,000 mountains to be a standing risk. They will be packaged and sold to the Shinong sect, which is buying anyway. Then she starts to say something about the Shinong sect's Golden Core Elder being dead, and stops halfway. The Shinong sect is one of the 3 great Golden Core sects, and a regional power for exactly one reason, and that reason just detonated itself over a mountain. Wang Myonghae covers her mouth before she can finish it. She is not to go anywhere near offending the Shinong sect, because a hegemon that has held this region so long does not run on one man alone. If they were that easy to push over, the other 2 Golden Core sects would have moved already. According to sources he trusts, the Shinong sect's new sect leader is a Golden Core expert they kept hidden until this week. He sounds bitter saying it, because he had no idea how much they could bury. Wang Sang-su looks just as shaken, since hiding a Golden Core great cultivator takes a secrecy she cannot match. He leaves her the ground and goes, because the 3 great Golden Core sects have summoned every surviving family in Loose Cultivator to another meeting. He can guess the agenda well enough. The tide is over. The human race holds Cheongpung Mountain Range, and now the spoils get divided, since first claim counts only as long as a family can hold it. He is on the point of setting out when several roars come up out of the deep 10,000 mountains, furious enough that everyone on the mountain shakes. A Golden Core demon beast. Nothing else could put that feeling in him. And underneath the fear, he is quietly grateful he listened to my uncle. The news catches up fast. 90% of the cultivators who chased into the depths are dead, and the rest came out scattered. On the road, he stops a man who barely escaped and gets the shape of it. A late-stage Golden Core great demon swallowed hundreds of people in a single mouthful. The Cheongpung sect and Beihua Valley sent their own Golden Core elders in, and both came back out before long. And no further word about Golden Core demon beasts follows. Back on the mountain, Wang Sang-su buries herself in work and pushes more than 10 cultivators out to the mortal cities to deal with what happened there. Wang Sanga brings her a list. The formations for the Yongseo, Biokok, and Gwaryong veins are short a great many spiritual materials. The family's storage is empty, and he asks whether they can trade at the Shinong sect. Wang Sungang comes to ask whether the collected demon beast corpses should go home or straight to the Shinong sect for demon beast hunting points. Somebody else reports a small red iron mine found near the Biokok spiritual vein that will need a great deal of labor to work. It comes in piece by piece, and she answers it piece by piece. The spiritual materials are already settled with the Grand Elder, who will bring them when he returns, and until then, the innate martial artists handle patrols and watch duty. 2/3 of the corpses go back to the family, and half of what remains is dissected on the spot to feed everyone here. The rest goes to the Shenong sect for demon beast hunting points, and every point is to be spent before that exchange closes. The red iron mine stays hidden until there are hands enough to dig it. When the Grand Elder returns, mortals will be moved into the 3 veins to do the basic work, because the family simply does not have enough cultivators, and she wants a development plan for all 3 drawn up for her to rule on. She works fast. A chaotic stretch of newly taken mountain turns orderly under her, and every Wang family member on it knows exactly what to do. Then my mother comes to her and says that all the Wang family bodies they could find are here. Zhou Min's face is ruined. Her husband fell in this battle too. Wang Songsu walks over slowly, sees what is laid out on the ground, and her mood goes somewhere very low. She orders the remains organized and carried home, and for the ones whose bodies were never found, a personal effect gathered and a memorial tomb built. In a beast tide this size, missing bodies are ordinary and no order can change it. My mother nods stiffly, with tears still on her face, like a woman with nothing left holding her upright. Innate martial artists come to help, and only then does the collecting get done. In the valley, every fruit on the shade locust tree drops at once. Faces I have known my whole life come up out of the ground, and I wake them one by one, and then my father is standing there. I call out to him before I understand what I am looking at. I had prepared for this. Preparing did nothing. The one thing worth holding on to is that this is not true death. The new memories arriving in their heads tell them plainly that the tree is why they are standing here. Kang He says he never imagined the family was hiding a wonder like this, and he sounds thrilled. And he was reborn even though he only married in. Another clansman asks aloud how many good things his family is sitting on, since none of them knew the valley existed. He says it like a man unsure he was ever really a Wang. Quite a few of them start looking hard at me, wondering how a boy this age has his hands on this many secrets. I do not explain all of it. I give them the parts they need in a long speech about keeping their mouths shut. Then I count. Nearly 50 people have come back, every one of them a chi refinement stage cultivator of the Song generation, and a great many of them sons-in-law and wives. This tide has broken the backbone of the Wang family. By my reckoning, there are still 90 odd of us left, and half of those are children of the Nam generation, and the spirit plant farmers of the Song generation who never left home. Wang Myungge comes home from the profit splitting carrying more than resources. 4 first-grade spiritual veins the Wang family no longer needed went to the Shenong sect, and the other 3 were recognized by the 3 great golden core sects as ours. To commend what we spent in the demon beast tide, we were granted territory past our mortal cities. With it came cultivation resources, 1 foundation establishment pill, and 3 longevity pills. Then came the part nobody wanted. The Shenong sect asked that Wang Songsu, our clan chief, take the seat of honorary elder inside the Shenong sect. Wang Myungge had already begun refusing when the Shenong sect master sent him a private transmission, asking how many foundation establishment cultivators the Wang family imagined it had hidden. The sect master asked whether we truly believed he had failed to count them. That one question emptied the old man out. He had believed our secrecy airtight, and nothing is airtight before a golden core great cultivator, so he accepted every term. The rest of what he carried home was a ledger of the dead. 2/5 of the Shinong sect's low-level cultivators are gone, and the Yu family and the Ju family are each down more than half. Whole Chi refinement families were scraped off the map, and loose cultivators died beyond counting. Plenty of them also walked out of that tide holding a spiritual vein, and are already talking about founding families on it. Last came a joint prohibition from the 3 great golden core sects, 3 years in which no cultivator and no family may raise a hand against another. Wang Myungge told Wang Songsu to make time for the Shinong sect, and she took it without argument, because the strong are respected and there is no shelf to set a refusal on. He added that the honorary seat would not touch her management of the family, so the clan chief's authority stayed hers. Then he said the great battle had left him sensing an opening for a breakthrough. He was going into seclusion, everything outside was hers now, and he was gone before she could answer. She stood looking at the empty air and told that the old man might have waited out the busy season. Then she began counting survivors and drawing up appointments, because whatever else stopped, the inside of the family could not. I get every word of it secondhand, days late, the way anyone my size gets news here. The year runs out, family business finds its old shape, the tide's mark fades to something we can live with, and the celebration comes back after years of nothing. I sit down with my own generation to tell them what those years looked like from where I stood. Every one of them was packed off and hidden by the family before the fighting started. That explains the year I spent knocking on doors and finding empty rooms. Wang Namgyang pulls us into a huddle and lowers his voice. The family has been discussing Tao companions for the grown members of the younger generation. It is days away, and none of us unattached ones is getting out of it. Wang Namyan is unbothered and says half the elders here took a Tao companion at exactly this age, and that producing the next generation is simply the job. The rest look like people who made their peace weeks ago. My sixth brother Wang Namgong explains that without the demon beast tide, this would have been on the agenda years earlier. Then he warns everyone not to refuse the arrangement unless they want to anger clan chief cousin, since the last stretch has left Wang Sangsu short-tempered enough that people cross the yard to avoid her. I ask where the Tao companions are supposed to come from. My lifespan is chained to this family, and as long as the Wang family does not go looking for its own grave, I will outlast most golden core cultivators. Picture it centuries out, my Tao companion long since a ghost cultivator, the two of us running an unfinished love story between a living man and a dead woman. Not that I object, and not that there is a door here I could walk out of. Given how few cultivators this family has left, pushing everybody toward a Tao companion at once is the only sane move the elders have. Namgong says the candidates come from the families nearby, the Yu family, the Ju family, and the smaller Qi refinement families. Anyone with a loose cultivator they favor may bring that person home with the family's blessing. An intermarriage among the three foundation establishment families happens constantly. Then he grins. If any of us can talk a cultivator out of one of the three great golden core sects, that is nobody's business but our own talent. The faces around the circle split evenly between resignation and daydreaming, and we talk until dark before the celebration closes clean. Inside our immortal cave, the spirit wine catches up with my mother, and Jumin cries herself hollow. I ask the old man why he does not go comfort her. My father tells me not to talk nonsense, since my mother has no divine sense and cannot see him, and asks what she is supposed to believe. Then he sighs and tells me to lift her realm and push her through to foundation establishment soon. Secrecy is one reason Wang Sangmyung has never been exposed, but his wife's blindness to him is the larger one. The shade locust tree is far too dangerous to put in her hands. Divine sense. The word snags something loose, and I am out the door and running for the scripture pavilion. I trade for the soul skill and put it in my mother's hands, telling her to cultivate it to perfection, and I will hand her a surprise worth the trouble. Jo-min looks down with her eyes still red, and knows exactly what she is holding. A cultivator technique that lets a cultivator refine divine sense long before the realm would otherwise allow. She grumbles that her little rascal is still playing guessing games with his mother, and takes it anyway. Back in my room, I plan which auxiliary medicinal pills to trade for on her behalf, since half a year of steady work has stacked my contribution up again. There is also a new legacy to choose. At the celebration, I did more listening than talking, and most of it circled back to the demon beast tide. Formations held the wall for hours at a stretch, which is the only reason the first line could reap demon beasts with almost no losses. Talismans came next, killing demon beasts by the score and shielding family members from the thing about to eat them. Our formation legacy stops dead at first grade formation master. Our talisman legacy runs to the second grade with no help from outside. I have always known that, because talismans are what this family is genuinely good at, and the embarrassing part is that nobody is bothered. Not one second grade talisman master has come out of this clan in its whole history. Meanwhile, I am the best Cheongpyeong grass farmer on the mountain, and Cheongpyeong grass is what talisman paper is made of. My own mother is a talisman master who can walk me through the early mistakes. My third legacy is decided before I finish the thought. Complete first grade talismans and talisman paper and talisman ink preparation techniques come off the scripture pavilion shelves and cost me a great deal, since the pavilion stopped being free the day the beast tide ended. I grumbled that I should have read every cultivation technique and legacy back when it cost nothing, though I never had that kind of time to burn. Between the two books, I hold the entire legacy of a first grade talisman master. One records the drawing methods for a long list of first grade talismans and every material each of them eats, and the other lays out how to make those materials from scratch. Drawing takes 3 tools and only 2 are cheap. Talisman paper and talisman ink sit inside the talisman legacy as consumables anyone can prepare. The talisman brush is a magical artifact that lasts for years, buildable only by an artifact refiner and priced accordingly. Most talisman masters here make their own paper and ink, which is exactly why Cheongpyeong grass covers half our fields. I carry both books back to the valley and start learning in small honest pieces. My cheat notices before I do, and opens a line for the first grade talisman master legacy, sitting at beginner with nothing on it, and a way to push it forward. Every rung on every legacy carries a tuition, and the panel accepts one currency only, years lifted off the far end of my life. 18 years lived, 399 still standing out past the horizon. The Gomak Bongchun Sutra I leave alone, because at major achievement it charges 20 years for a single percent. That is not tuition, that is extortion. The spirit plant farmer enrolls first, since it feeds me and the family stands on it. 50 years lifts it to major achievement, and another 100 carries it through to perfection. Finally, a legacy at perfection, From here, I can raise and propagate any first-grade spirit plant alive, and keep a good many second-grade ones healthy besides, which is worth more to this family than anything I own. The alchemist's legacy is already fat with proficiency from the spirit plant farmer beneath it, and years of furious pill refining on top, so 65 years pushes it into minor achievement. That leaves 184 years, and everyone goes into talismans. 15 buys proficient, 30 more buys minor achievement, 60 more buys major achievement. I end up laughing in an empty valley because a talisman master eats far less life than an alchemist does. Then the memories arrive, somebody else's decades of practice pouring in at once, and I sit down and let them settle. When the flood clears, I take stock of what I am on paper. 18 years old with 79 left, a poor man's balance again after a very expensive afternoon, and a realm at the 8th layer of chi refinement with room above it. The Gomak Bangchun Sutra holds its first layer at major achievement, and a single %, and every spell I own stands at perfection. The turtle breath concealment art, the soul skill, the spirit rain technique, and the golden Gyeong sword art are all there. So are the Youngseo palm technique, the Vajra Buddha body technique, the falling leaf footwork, and the random chopping blade technique. The first layer of 1 chi transforms into 3 pure ones sits with them, and only the blazing soul meditation lags, at beginner and 11%. Under legacy, I read now as a first-grade spirit plant farmer at perfection, and a first-grade alchemist a single % into major achievement. I am also a first-grade talisman master a single % into major achievement. 3 days later, I am elbow deep in Cheongpyeong grass with an aching back, and the paper method is nearly working when my father appears. He asks when I learned the talisman master legacy, and says he finds his own son less familiar by the month. It is the way I handle spirit plants that gets him, since neither elder in this valley can match it anymore. I give him the easy answer with a playful face. The family went to Chongpeng mountain range for years. I got bored alone, and it turned out I had a knack. Inwardly, I am cursing my own carelessness, because nobody here means me harm, and outside these walls the same slip would cost me everything. He asks how well I learned it, having decided he ought to pay attention to his son now that ghost cultivation has given us more hours together. I tell him the drawing is no real problem, and the paper is the part I am still fighting. While I say it, my eyes drop to the grass in my hands. 2 steps from becoming a sheet, he reads that instantly and understands I have learned it very well. He tells me to take my time, then slides back into the shade locust tree. The family has been feeding that tree since the beast tide ended. Corpse after demon beast corpse hauled home and offered up. It stands close to 100 feet tall now, thick with branch and leaf, not far at all from turning into a second-grade spirit plant. I speed my hands up, and sheet after sheet goes onto the drying racks. Wang Zhongyou and the other elders see me buried and come to help. I ask third grandma whether the family has talisman brushes available for exchange, since I can prepare the ink myself and the raw materials already grow on our own ground. The brush is the one thing I cannot solve alone, because the Wang family has no artifact refiner, and every brush we own was bought from someone else. She laughs and says a family that specializes in talismans could hardly be without them. The resources the Shinong sect handed over include a great many kinds of brush, so she sends me to the clan chief. I dry the last of the paper at a dead run and go find Wang Songsu. She repeats the words talisman brushes back at me with an expression I do not enjoy, then asks whether I am buying them from my mother. I say yes without a flicker, because the alternative is another lecture. She takes me down into the family treasury, and a whole row of them comes up out of the dark, all made for chi refinement cultivators, and more than enough for my mother's use. She tells me to pick whichever I want, and that she will take the contribution points out of me personally. My eyes are already gone. Every talisman brush is a magical artifact, so every one carries some small extra gift. One that saves spiritual chi, one that doubles as a weapon, one that strengthens the soul. I read each of them before choosing the brush that stores talismans. A brush while I work, and a storage pouch while I do not. 2 tools for 1 purchase, exactly my kind of arithmetic. I tell Clan Chief Cousin I also need medicinal pills for the middle stage of chi refinement, and the raw materials for spiritual ink. She waves a hand and tells me to pick them myself and hurry. Several months of accumulated contribution vanishes in one visit, and I walk out with everything I came for. Almost out. She catches me at the door with her face gone serious, and asks whether I am hiding something from her. The black armor king bug and the 18-star glazed gourd crawl out on either side of her, settling in around me like they have opinions. I ask my cousin how her own dear grandnephew could possibly hide anything from her. Then I swallow hard, because 3 Foundation establishment cultivators staring at a man from arm's length is deeply unpleasant. She asks pleasantly whether I would care to swear a heavenly Tao oath on that, and all I have is an awkward laugh. Nobody swears a heavenly Tao oath casually, and anyone who does has chosen a slow way to kill himself. Then she asks what is going on with the shade locust tree in the valley, and whether I understand she would still know nothing about it if the Grand Elder had not sent word. Everything behind my ribs unclenches at once, and I lay the whole thing out, the tree and the ghost cultivators both. I tell her it truly is not my fault, that I was buried in work and it slipped my mind, and that I assumed my great-grandfather would tell her himself. She says I am getting more cunning by the day, and underneath the anger is something else. When the family lost as many of its people as it lost, she went somewhere private and cried a long time. Then the ground shifted, and it turned out the family had been sitting on a wonder the whole time. She throws me out without ceremony, and only once the door is shut does she let the breath go. In the valley I stand with my hands on my hips, while Four Joys swishes his tail beside me, the two of us black to the elbows and black to the muzzle. The talisman ink came out right, and there is more of it than every mistake I planned to make. The paper came out right too, because I have been producing it at a lunatic pace. That is why the newly matured chunk young grass never reached the family treasury and went into my racks instead. Clan Chief Wang Songzu came out in person to lecture me, docked my contribution points and called it settled. I tell Four Joys that once I have drawn a few talismans, I will share some with him. He answers with an eager bellow, having decided he wants to be an ox who uses talismans. Everything goes into the immortal cave and I start practicing. Drawing is genuinely simpler than alchemy, since it comes down to controlling the strength of the spiritual chi and remembering the shape of the talisman. The first several sheets die under my hand for no reason except that I have never done this before. Then the failures thin out, and one talisman after another comes off the paper whole. What pleases me most is that a talisman master never has to go hunting across 3 counties for a pill formula, because the drawing methods for nearly everything are already written in complete first-grade talismans. Fireball talismans, 5 warriors talismans, Bean Soldier talismans, and Water Escape talismans go into the immortal cave one stack at a time and start looking like a hill. I hug Four Joys around the head and tell him that as long as the success rate holds, talismans will earn spirit stones as fast as medicinal pills ever did. Both are consumables and necessities, the market never runs out of buyers, and the raw materials are easy to come by. The only real bottleneck is how often the work fails, and my cheat drags proficiency upward whether I sleep or not, which means 100% success rate is not a question of whether but of when. Sooner or later, I am going to find out what it feels like to be crushed to death under spirit stones. Helping the family grow is the point, obviously. Getting rich along the way would simply be pleasant. In the clan chief's immortal cave, Wang Sung-su and several elders are counting people. Between the clan cultivators who have lost a spouse and the non-generation members who intend to take a Dao companion or a concubine, the total comes to 40. That means 40 outside surname cultivators are needed, and the families willing to intermarry with us can offer only 20 who are looking. Wang Song-yu delivers that arithmetic helplessly, since she has carried more and more of the family's business ever since so many of our cultivators fell. Wang Sung-su asks whether there are at least enough for the Nam generation. Wang Sung-yu says there are more than enough, that our young ones are wanted, and that other families are coming specifically for them. Their own children are around 20 and eager to pair off early, so there is someone beside them when the next disaster arrives. So the Nam generation chooses first, and a matchmaking event gets organized for them. For everyone else, Wang Song-su rules that mortals will be brought up out of our mortal cities and married in. The odds of a child with a spiritual root are lower that way, and still better than 2 mortals together. Clan members taking concubines should be given more mortal women, so more children get born. She adds one more thing. The Shinong sect will be opening its doors to new disciples again shortly, and she wants clan members posted at the gate. They are to pick up the loose cultivators with spiritual roots that the Shinong sect turns away, and bring them home as matrilocal sons-in-law and daughters-in-law. From here, the Wang family spends itself on development, and development means population as much as strength. The clan moves fast, and one arrangement after another lands. I am running the catalysis technique over a bed of spirit plants when Wang Song-su takes me by the arm and hauls me off to a place of pretty hills and clear water. I ask her where we are. Half my generation is already standing around, which is my first clue and not a comforting one. She tells me flatly that it is a matchmaking event. Then her voice drops to something cold. If I do not bring a Dao companion home to clan territory today, she says, there will be no further need for the piece of meat I keep between my legs. A Dao companion is not simply a wife the way mortals mean it. I tell her we are not birth machines. She tells me to cut the nonsense and pick one, or spend the rest of my life not needing to pick one. Then she says she has heard that a man's mind becomes remarkably clear once he loses that piece of meat, and asks whether I would like to find out. I clamp my knees together and go cold down the back. I ask what happens if there is nobody here I like, and she tells me to describe the kind I want and she will find her. If no cultivator fits, we will look among the mortals, since the Wang family has more mortal vassals than anyone can count. Then she says that contributing to the Wang family is simply what a member of the Wang family does, and she leaves me standing there. Wang Namgyang and the others swarm over, and Namgyang asks with open delight whether cousin clan chief threatened me. I am not annoyed in the slightest, so instead of answering I ask him why his face is swollen. He says he bumped it, and his eyes go everywhere except mine. Wang Namyan puts him out of his misery and explains that cousin clan chief told him to attend. He refused, and he got hit for it. Namgyang bristles and insists it was an accident, though from the way he holds his jaw, that slap is clearly still ringing. Namyan tells everybody to stop fooling around, since there is no avoiding this, and we may as well let it run its course. The rest of us look at each other and walk in together. The event is nothing more than the young disciples of several nearby families put in one place, and if two of them like each other, that is a partnership. Cultivators do not go about this the way mortals do. What a cultivator weighs is longevity, not romance. So most Tao companions simply agree to face the next 100 years back to back. Love turns up in very few of these arrangements. I could try explaining to cousin clan chief that I happen to be immortal. No, she would not believe me, and she would decide I had gone soft in the head, so I keep my mouth shut and let my eyes wander instead. Cultivators are uniformly flawless to look at, the whole field of them like a gathering of heavenly immortals. I drift away from the crowd and walk alone for a while. That is when a girl in a green gauze dress comes up the path toward me with color rising in her face. She introduces herself as Yu Chong Chong of the Yu family and asks what she ought to call me. The voice goes through me like a struck bell before I have finished turning around. When I do turn, there is a blushing girl with willow eyebrows and a cherry mouth standing close enough to speak quietly. If every female cultivator is a beauty, this one is a catastrophe. Whatever she carries in the air around her takes my eyes and does not give them back. Having a Tao companion, I decide instantly, may not be such a burden after all, and every principle I walked in here holding goes out of my head. I have turned into a lecher, and an easily managed one, because beauties are not interchangeable and this one lands exactly on the shape of my taste. I tell her I am Wang Nam Nam of the Wang family. She turns that over and says she has heard a little about the current generation of cultivators in the Wang family, and has never once heard of me. Something in my face moves before I can stop it, and I tell her that perhaps I am simply very low-key. Then I ask why she knows so much about my family, because a sliver of my mind is still working under all the admiration. She answers that her own family briefed her on our situation, that a family cultivator eventually needs a Tao companion, and that there is nothing wrong with learning these things early. I let the breath out quietly. She is not digging at Wang family secrets, and her explanation is not even a stretch, because a gentle, well-raised female cultivator was always going to have the Yu family searching on her behalf. We walk the dirt path together and trade the ordinary details, because the purpose here is not a secret and neither of us pretends otherwise. She is exactly my age, she carries 4 spiritual roots of wood, water, fire, and earth, and she has just reached the 3rd layer of chi refinement. She is also a 1st grade formation master, which makes her conditions better than her realm suggests. She comes out of the foundation establishment Yu family, which makes her a suitable match for me by any reckoning the elders use. In return, I tell her my own basic circumstances, by which I mean I tell her a great deal about Wang family territory. Back home, Wang Songsu summons me again and asks whether I listened to a word she said. I tell her I listened. Since I cannot fight the coercion, I have decided to enjoy it, and with the lecher in me awake, it no longer feels like coercion at all. As a partner for standing against risk and raising the next generation, Yu Cheong Cheong meets every requirement anyone could name. I tell my cousin that the girl from the Yu family and I got on very well, and she says that is excellent and saves her a great deal of trouble. Young people arrive at this with a head full of ideas and rarely want the family arranging anything, and a cultivation family does not permit refusal. She tells me to see more of Yu Chung Chung and to find a date this year for the ceremony, the same way every one of them once did. I stop resisting. I only ask how the two of us are supposed to talk, since the Wang family sits a long way from the Yu family. She smiles a small smile and says the 18-star glazed gourd will carry the letters, and that she will instruct it to obey me. Then she tells me to get my mother started on the betrothal gifts. My face goes dark and not over the gifts. Using a foundation establishment demon beast as a postal service, says it very loudly. I spend a moment genuinely worried the gourd will frighten the girl half to death. Then I stop thinking about it and do as my cousin says. Day after that, life is absurdly full. Spirit plants tended, medicinal pills refined, talismans drawn, letters written and answered. Four Joys is shaking his head over a pile of rejected medicinal pills and windcloud grass when his whole aura shifts and pulls my eyes off my work. I ask whether he is awakening a wind attribute spell, since long feeding on windcloud grass gives a demon beast that chance, and he has eaten more than enough. He nods fast, and then the wind closes around him and stands up into a small tornado. The power is respectable, enough to hurt a cultivator in the middle stage of chi refinement, which means he can keep himself alive if I am not there. That is honestly all I have ever wanted from him. I also catch myself wondering whether the shade locust tree would work on the family's spirit beasts, because carrying a beast into ghost cultivation would change a great deal. I tell him to practice until it is not rusty, since an innate spell left alone goes wrong at the worst possible moment. The wind cloud grass at my immortal cave entrance comes up next, because its whole job was to get 4 joys to this point. I hand it over to the family as a resource for sale, since the Jew family will probably trade spirit stones for it, and that frees my hours for better spirit medicine. So I pack every stalk of it with the rest of the surplus, walk it into the family treasury, exchange the lot for medicinal pills, and put those in my mother's hands. With that much auxiliary support, Jumin's cultivation speed has already climbed a full step, and the next one is not far off, which means I need foundation establishment pills in hand before she gets there. Because pills or no pills, I am pushing my mother into foundation establishment. My older brothers and sisters could use a hand as well, and helping them is not out of the question either. Wang Namgyong, who suffered through the same matchmaking event I did, is the first of us to hold his ceremony. His Dao companion moves into the Wang family formally. They say she comes from the Jew family, same as my mother, that she is a beast tamer, and that she brought her spirit beast in with her. His household kept the ceremony small, and since I was buried in the valley, I never got so much as a look at my new sister-in-law. Then word arrives from Wang Namyan, and the rest all of them settled, while the elders of the family take concubines and set about adding bricks and tiles to the Wang family. Everyone is racing to have as many spiritual root children as possible waiting 12 years from now. These people move fast. I say so out loud, over a letter from Yu Chong Chong, and I am smiling while I say it. Out in the wider world, the Shenong sect's open recruitment finishes entirely, leaving only the spiritual root testing of mortal children and the ascension ceremony. That ceremony is the single door through which a loose cultivator can walk into a golden core sect, so the crush at the entrance is worse than ever. Thousands of soldiers crossing one plank bridge, and nearly all of them fall off. The ones left outside, with their mottled spiritual roots, interest no golden core sect, and every cultivation family with a bit of heritage. Nobody wants them for labor. They want them for breeding. A family marries such a man to one of its mortal women, asks nothing of him but children, and takes any child born with a spiritual root into the family surname. The Wang family brings in a batch of its own, and marries a great many Wang surnamed mortal women to them. Not every matrilocal son-in-law is the same animal. A man like King He, Wang Sung Yu's Dao companion, came in with a trade in his hands, brewing, and he is the only Dao companion that female cultivator of ours has. That makes him a real member of the Wang family. The loose cultivators we scraped up to serve as studs are married off to our mortal women and kept out at the edge of our ground. The family promises them cultivation resources and withholds recognition, and only their spiritual root children ever count as Wang. Loyalty in that second kind runs thin, which is why every cultivation family keeps one eye on them. There are a good many of them on our periphery now. Most of their days are spent with their wives down in Jiangxin County, but they turn up often enough. I've looked a few over. Low realms, mottled spiritual roots. The road to cultivation closed behind them. It is no mystery why they took the offer. I cannot be bothered with any of it and go back to my own immortal cave. My mother is waiting with her whole face lit up. She tells me the Wang family and the Yu family have come to terms, and that the day Yu Chong Chong and I become Dao companions is set for next month. I already knew, since our letters have been circling the subject for weeks. We have been writing long enough that there is something real underneath the arrangement, and we are both quietly looking forward to it. Jo Min tells me everything else is handled and I should wait with an easy mind, and she says it while stacking the drifts of talisman paper I have left all over the cave. I ask how her cultivation is going and remind her that I am not short of contribution. She says she lacks nothing and that I should worry about my own. Then she adds that Yu Chong Chong is already at the 3rd layer of chi refinement while I am sitting at the 2nd. If I cannot beat my own Dao companion in a fight, she says, nobody is coming to help me. The thought of that gentle girl hitting anyone puts a chill through me, and I change the subject. The children born in spring and the spirit plants coming out of the beds say the same thing, and so does the Wang family, a place crowded with new life. Grand Elder Wang Myongge comes out of several months of seclusion with a heavier aura on him. Then he leaves without speaking to a single clan member, only a message saying he has gone out to train. Wang Sangsu complains that ever since he handed off the position, the Grand Elder has been getting looser by the year. Underneath the complaint, she is plainly envious, because nobody knows what the clan chief's chair costs until they sit in it. He is not the only one gone. Wang Myongju, who has never once been seen, and Wang Myonghui, who is officially dead, both slipped away to travel after quietly carrying the family through the beast tide. There has been no word from either since. Only the 3-year prohibition on fighting makes that possible, because otherwise the 3 of them would never have dared leave together. Envy gets about a day. Then the Shinong sect sends word ordering Wang Songsu to come and talk. An honorary elder cannot refuse an order outright, so she hands the family's business to other clan members and goes in person. The Shinong sect makes no attempt at secrecy, and the reason leaks almost immediately. They have found the ruins of an ancient sect and are inviting everyone along on the adventure. Wang Zhongso says the beast tide must have gutted the Shinong sect badly, because a job that good would never otherwise reach us. In this world, people take more and hold more, and nobody shares what they can keep. Calling in every honorary elder means the sect has nobody left inside its own walls. I ask how it counts as a good job, since ancient sect ruins are normally a fast way to die. Wang Zhongyo gives me the old line about danger and opportunity living in the same house. Nobody ever knows what is inside such a place, she says, and past experience puts the harvest above the crisis. Then she adds that the saying only applies to the ones who walked out. This damned cultivation world, fighting to the death every single day. Does nobody here get tired? I ask whether they will be used as cannon fodder. Wang Zhongso says the Shinong sect does not have the courage to spend Foundation establishment cultivators that way. Recalling every honorary elder at once means the sect wants the other two Golden Core sects kept out of it, because splitting treasure with Golden Core cultivators is entirely different arithmetic. I follow enough of that to nod, and mostly I am left curious about what is sitting inside those ruins. Nothing in the family changes, except that Wang Songsu goes straight from the Shinong sect to the ruins and breaks in alongside several other Foundation establishment cultivators. The story travels everywhere, and nobody outside knows a single true detail of it. I keep checking the 18-star glazed gourd in my beast taming bag, and as long as it sits there calm, my clan chief cousin is alive. More than 20 days later, 5 Foundation establishment cultivators come stumbling out of the ruins, and the Shinong sect leader catches them and tries to settle them down. Before he can get a question out, Wang Songsu is already shouting that they are gone. All of them. Fallen. Every member of that party was a Foundation establishment cultivator, a lineup that could have erased every cultivation family in the region, and 5 came back. The sect leader demands to know what happened. One of his own Foundation establishment elders answers that it is no ancient sect at all, but an ancient beast arena. Anyone who enters has to fight the souls of demon beasts and win several matches in a row before the place will let them leave. The elder adds that it is not pure crisis, because every demon beast soul put down feeds a sliver of divine sense to the killer. The divine sense of all 5 has climbed considerably. The sect leader asks whether that is all, and the 5 of them shake their heads together. Something that only feeds divine sense is something only a Foundation establishment cultivator can use. With Golden Core cultivators nearly extinct and Foundation establishment cultivators scarce, that ancient beast arena is close to worthless as the world stands. The sect leader gives his orders anyway, cenotaphs for the fallen elders and good treatment for their descendants. A formation raised around the site, and the place kept as a training ground where the sect's own Foundation establishment elders may enter free and answer for their own deaths. Compensation paid to every participating honorary elder exactly as agreed. Wang Songsu and the rest give their thanks, and by any honest count the trip was not a loss, since their divine sense grew and they got paid for it. She comes home with 7 pill formulas and hands them to Wang Zhonggong and me. They are all for cultivators in the late stage of chi refinement, which is precisely what this family cannot get enough of. She says the Shinong sect was generous this time and that the 7 are worth a great deal. Then come the terms. In her usual order, the contribution points come out of me, the pill formulas are mine, and the spirit medicine seeds are mine to plant myself. A batch of the mature crop goes to 7th Grandpa Wang Zhonggong, and every medicinal pill I refine from them serves the Wang family first. I tell her that goes without saying, because an alchemist at minor achievement can handle anything the middle and late stages of chi refinement ask for. The ground where the wind cloud grass used to stand is empty and waiting. Time goes by in the way busy time goes by. I open a new immortal cave not far from my family's, because a man about to take a Tao companion has no business still living with his mother. A month later, I am standing in that cave with red hangings everywhere, half drunk. Yu Chong Chung sits on the bed in an ornate dress and looks at me with more warmth than I have ever been aimed at. Like every other cultivator ceremony, it was a small thing, both families and nobody else. We drank a few cups of spirit wine and deliberately did not burn the intoxication out with spiritual chi, because neither of us wanted to lose the feeling. Then I go to her, and the night belongs to us. In the early morning, the sun comes across the earthly square. I lie there loose-limbed with my Tao companion in my arms and grin at her when her eyes open.